folks, it's about time to come on in if you're anybody out in the hall and get ready for today. Got some cool speakers this morning. I think y'all will like it. Those of you who are in here on time, you know what? We're going to do some more of the blue ticket raffle drawings here. So if you get your... What's that?
I lost my raffle ticket and I still remember the number. Does that count?
Yeah, no, you got to have that raffle ticket. So we'll just start it off here. We'll see how many we have to go through to find a winner. How about number 012? Does anybody have number 012? 012? 012. Going once. I'm sorry? All right, next one. Let's see what we got. How about number 903? Is there a number 903? You got it? All right, come on up. You can pick anything on the table here.
903.
That'll work. Great, thank you. Up right, yeah, right here. Yeah, anything you want there. All right, the Tim Samaras book. Okay, let's do a couple more. Did y'all enjoy yesterday? Did you have a good time? Great. Nobody too hungover this morning? Or, well, you're the ones that are here. The other ones that are hungover aren't here. I assume that's it. All right, how about number 852? 852. 852 going once, twice. All right. How about number 003? Hey, all right, Vince. All right, anything on the table? Great. Do a few more here, and then we'll get started. Is Jason in here yet or not? Yeah. Oh, there you are. Okay. All right, how about number 881? 881. You got an 881? All right, excellent. Great, congratulations. Anything on the table? 2 copies of Tim's book left. How about 845? 840. You got a whole collection of them over there? Or? All right. We're all in the 800s here, like 872. 872. Anybody have that one? 872. Going once, twice. All right. How about 019? 019. No. $974. 974. All right. Oh, Mr. Lucky Man, I tell you, man, this guy is on a roll. Congrats, Stephen. What's that? On tomorrow and Tuesday, it'll be light in the daytime and dark at night. We're going to get some snow in Colorado. Huh? Yeah, it depends. It's like that main jet core is going to be just a little north and slowly sagging south, but if it gets this far south, we're going to be right on the edge of it. I think the area up toward Larimer County, Weld County, they'll get some pretty good snow. The mountains are going to get a lot of snow out of this one. Yeah. It's going to get cold, that's for sure, at least for a day or two. the Front Range. You get a polar air mass comes in, and 2 days later it pushes out east. You get down sloping winds and it warms back up. Where else can you go and have it be 20 below in the morning, and that afternoon have it be 50 degrees? How about 964? 964. Anybody have that one? 964. All right. Okay, a couple more, and then we'll get started here. How about 899? Anybody have 899? Okay. Uh-oh. Not on a good roll here, that's for sure. 916. 916. Hey, all right, come on up, Daisy. Anything on the table. Help yourself. Great. All right. And one copy of the book left. That can be yours if your number is 996. 996. All right. Come on up. Great. Congratulations. Anything on the table? One more, and then we'll get started here. How about number 001? Double ought one. Anybody have double ought one? 001. No? $977. Hey, all right, Gene. I'll take it. Oh, I need your ticket. I need your ticket. Yeah, it's not valid anymore. Great, thanks. Oh, James Menzies' photo. That's a really pretty composite shot there. Yeah, that was a great storm. Okay, well, I am excited to introduce our next guest, Jason, who is here to talk to us about chasing on the cheap. We all know how expensive it is to be out there chasing between fuel and vehicle rentals and flights, or if you have your own car, then all the upkeep and maintenance and everything, and hotels and so forth. So Jason's here to talk to us about some ideas he has about how to do it a cheaper way to make it affordable. Jason?
I don't need that. I think
Oh,
I'm
you got
on
one
this,
already?
so
Okay.
let me... That. Okay, can you hear me? Okay. All right. That's my peanut section over there. I heard tomatoes and pineapples are going to be thrown, so yeah. Before I get into my talk, I just want to give Roger accolade for what he's done. It's just, yeah. He was talking about the future of Chasercon, but I don't think we can ever actually realize how much he's really done to get this together. I know I really appreciate it, so just wanted to say thanks to Roger. So anybody in here who was up past midnight last night that made it in this morning? Anybody past 1? 2? Oh my gosh. Well, congratulations on making it this morning. I know there's been a few past conventions where I did not make it to the first talk, so I'm glad you made it. But, I don't know about you guys, but when I wake up first thing in the morning, I kind of like to ease into my day, maybe sip a little bit of coffee, check out an online article.
Sorry.
That's okay. Is that my doing, or is that... do I...
At least you get it.
Good? Okay. All right. So, as I was saying, I kind of like to ease into my day. I don't like to get into anything too mentally taxing, and so if you guys are like me, you're in for a treat this morning. This will likely be the least mentally taxing presentation of the entire convention. No complex models, no charts, or anything like that. Today we're going to talk about how you can save money while you're out storm chasing. As you guys know, storm chasing is a really expensive hobby. At a minimum, you're spending money on gas. At a maximum, you could be spending several $1,000s on a storm chasing tour. So before I get into the agenda, I thought I would just introduce myself because I'm not that well known in the storm chasing community. A lot of you probably have no idea who I am. That's probably because I don't really have a big social media presence. I just enjoy chasing, but I haven't really been doing a lot on social media. But my name is Jason Castor, no relation to Val. I get that a lot. For those that aren't from Oklahoma City, Val is a storm chaser for News 9. He used to chase with Gary England. Now he's with David Payne. But our names are spelled a little bit differently, so there's no relation. I hail from Oregon. And actually, when I was about 5 or 6 years old, we had a really weak tornado hit on the outskirts of the town that I grew up in. And they're really rare in Oregon, but they happen. And my dad wanted to drive out and see the damage. And I remember seeing this massive tree that had been uprooted, and the roots were up in the air, and it really scared me. And I started having tornado dreams. And in my dreams, tornadoes were the size of mountains, like bigger than any tornado could ever be. Well, that's on record yet anyway. And as I grew older, that fear turned into a fascination, and that's what led me to storm chasing today. In 2015, I hiked over 2,000 miles on the Pacific Crest Trail. For those who aren't familiar with that, it's a trail that goes all the way from Mexico up to Canada. I did all of California and Oregon, but Washington was pretty much on fire that year, so the wildfires prevented me from doing the whole thing. But if you've never seen the Pacific Northwest, I actually did a full-length documentary, and it's on my YouTube channel. So if you look up my name, Jason Castor, on YouTube, you'll find it right away. And also, I have several videos out there about how to save while you're traveling. And so I have experience with traveling, and over the years, I've learned quite a few tricks and techniques, and I'm going to share that with you guys today. But if you want to learn even more about it, just go to my YouTube channel and check that out. So my first chasecation, 2008, I took a week's worth of vacation from Oregon. I flew out to Dallas and got a rental car, drove north to Kansas, and got on my first severe storm. And the very first storm chaser I ran into was Bill Hark. I was hoping he'd be here. He's not, but he actually had his camera set up, and he was picking up softball-sized hail and chucking it at his camera like snowballs. So once I saw that severe storm, I was hooked. I mean, I couldn't get away from it. And in 2011, I actually moved to Oklahoma. I had lost my job in Oregon due to the recession, and I thought, well, why not move to Oklahoma while I'm out of work, and ended up getting employed there, and I still live there today. And my first tornado was in 2011, just south of Waukeeta, and as you guys know, that's where Twister was filmed. And it was on Highway 11, and I noticed we didn't have any tornado videos as part of presentations yet, so I thought, why not show my very first tornado? Were any of you guys really, really like overly excited when you saw your first tornado? So just fair warning, I'm a little excited in this video. But at the very end, I want you guys to really pay close attention because there's a fun story associated with it. So go ahead and hit play for me.
Jason Castor's first tornado. That's right. That's right. Can you see it? Right behind me. Woohoo! We got an Oklahoma tornado, #1, right there.
Some amazing cinematography.
Wow, look at that. Look at that. Wow. That is cool. Look at that
New circulation forming right in front of it there. I actually speeded up a little bit just because it's kind of a long video. Maybe try to hide some of the bad cinematography.
So amazing. Look at that go.
There it is. Okay, pay attention. All right, so I don't know if you guys saw what happened right there. So the tornado's in the field across from me, and this is my very first tornado. So I'm like pumped up, ready to go. And I realize the tornado's kind of moving toward me, and so I'm thinking to myself, okay, you need to get going, but I don't want to stop looking at the tornado. So I'm reaching behind me for the car door, and I finally grab it, and I open it up, and I jump in, go to grab the steering wheel, and I grab the back of the front seat. I got in the back seat of the car. So I had to get out of the back seat, get in the front seat, and yeah, so that's my very first tornado story. So there you go. All right, so let's go over the agenda. The first thing I'm going to talk about are hotel tricks and techniques. This is going to be the meat of the presentation because when you're traveling, the most money you can save is always going to be on hotels. You can get discounts in other areas, but hotels are always overcharging, and there's a few tricks I'm going to show you guys to save money there. Related to that, I'm going to go over loyalty and rewards programs. Roger told me he's very familiar with these as he runs the tours. What if I told you guys that for the past 5 years, every year that I've came to Chasercon, I've paid for my flight, my rental car, and my hotel absolutely free with loyalty rewards. Does that sound intriguing? Got your attention? All right, so we'll go over that. I'll show you guys exactly how I did that. Then we'll go over the EF scale. It's not the enhanced Fujita scale, but the efficient fuel use scale. We never want EF to stand for empty fuel tank when we have a tornado bearing down on us. So we're going to go over a few trips and techniques for that. Then we'll jump into car rentals. There's not a lot of ways to save on car rentals, but there are a few tricks, so we'll jump into that. Fight or flight. So you really have to fight to get a deal on a flight, and that's why I called it that. Finding deals is pretty difficult this day and age, and even if you get a really inexpensive airline, they tack you on with all kinds of fees. So I'm going to go over how to try to save some money there. Then we'll go over Allsup's Almanac. That's related to saving on food while you're on the road. Not a lot of ways to save, but there are a few tricks to that. And then finally, we'll go over gear, where to find good deals, and if we have time, we'll even talk about storm chasing vehicles a little bit. So, sound good? All right, hotels, when the price is wrong. Anybody seen Happy Gilmore? That's the Bob Barker scene. It's usually followed by an expletive, but I thought I'd keep it family friendly. So, let's take a hypothetical scenario. Let's say you've been chasing all day and you're really tired. You pull into Clinton, Oklahoma, and you see the Hampton Inn. You're like, oh, yes, a hotel. So you walk up to the front desk and you ask them how much it's going to cost for a room. And they say it'll be $129 for the night. A little bit steep. You ask them, do you have any discounts? And they say, well, we have AAA. And so you're like, yes, I have a AAA discount. And so you hand them your card, and it's $118 instead of $129, and that's a good deal, right? No, that's not a good deal. What if I told you you could get that same room for $48? Does that sound a little bit better? Okay. So, Priceline and Hotwire are my go-to websites when it comes to booking hotel rooms. And I want to go over a few examples with them, and I put together a video that I'll go over in a second, but I want to outline a few points that I want you to pay attention as we go through that video. I'm kind of a visual learner, so I like to see the hands-on, so that's why I put together the video. But Hotwire has a thing called Hot Rates, and what that is the hotels are outlined by different star levels and different locations in a city. So let's say the Stapleton North Hotel would DoubleTree would fall under that category, and it's a 3.5-star hotel. So a hot rate, you bid on that star level, but you have no idea what hotel you're going to get. And they do that so that hotels aren't revealing how much they're giving away hotel rooms for, because obviously hotels want to make as much money off of you as they can. So hot rates are part of Hotwire, and then Priceline has a function where you can actually bid on a hotel. And you might say, well, why not just bid $1, and if you don't get that, just bid $2? Well, they're smarter than that, and they make you wait 24 hours before you can bid again. And as you know, as we're storm chasing, we don't have the luxury to keep bidding to try to get a good hotel. But there is a trick to kind of guarantee that you're going to get that low bid once you've compared the two sites together, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Before I go to Priceline and Hotwire, I go to a general site like Orbitz and just get an idea of what hotels are going for at certain different star levels. So that's kind of your starting point. One thing to keep in mind is that bigger cities have better odds. So you pulled into Clinton and there's a couple of hotels that compete against each other, but if you were able to drive the extra hour and a half into Oklahoma City, your odds would be much higher of getting a really good deal and probably an even nicer hotel. So keep that in mind when you're deciding where you're going to stay for the night after a storm chase. Once you've done that, you want to narrow down your options in Hotwire. So you want to narrow it down by location and by star level. And what I mean by that is in Denver, there's different areas. There's the tech center, there's the airport, there's the Stapleton North area, which is where we are. So that's what I mean by area. And then star level is just how nice the hotel is. One thing you want to avoid is never ever book a one-star hotel, no matter how cheap it is. I've had some horrific evenings in those hotels. And if you go with two-star, you actually go a lot higher in quality pretty quickly. The Hampton Inn is actually a 2.5-star hotel, and the Comfort Inn is a 2-star hotel. So 2-star is fine, but just never do 1 or 1.5 stars if you can avoid it. Once you've narrowed it down in Hotwire and gotten an idea of those prices, that's when you're going to jump over to Priceline and bid lower than Hotwire. And the key is to bid 20% lower than what Hotwire has listed as their hot rate for that star level. That's going to get you in the range where they're likely going to accept your bid, but it's still less than Hotwire, and that's how you get your cheapest deal. So let's go through an example here. Can you hit play? And keep your mouse hovered over the, yeah, do it on there. There you go. And keep your mouse hovered over the play button after you do that, because I'm going to have you pause it. Oh, can you go back? Here, I went back. Just hit play. There we go. All right. So let's assume we went to Orbitz. We kind of figured out a general idea for our hotels. We're going to jump into Hotwire. And let's say we want to go to this amazing convention in Denver. It's been going on for 20 years. It's going on from the 16th to the 18th. And we just want to see what hotels are available. So you see the map on the right-hand side there? That outlines the different areas of the city. And we want the Stapleton North. That happens to be where our convention is. So we're going to click on that, and on the left, it's going to give us these different hot rates for different star levels. So at the top, we have a 3.5-star level hotel. So let's take a look at that and see what our options are. So you see the Crown Plaza, oh, the DoubleTree. The DoubleTree, we might actually get the DoubleTree. That's kind of promising at a hot rate of $61. So let's type in the DoubleTree and just see what it's going for online. So let me just scroll down a little here. There it is, DoubleTree by Hilton North, Stapleton, $129. $61 sounds a lot better than $129. That's already a huge savings. 3.5 stars. So we know it's related. We could get that hotel if we decided to go with that. So now we have an idea of the hotel that we kind of have in our sites. But let's jump over to Priceline.com and see what they have for hotels over there. So I'm going to go to Priceline.com. I'm going to type in my information the same way. So we're going to go to Denver. Once again. And we're going to type in the same dates. And instead of a map, they have a drop-down list on the left-hand side here. So we want to find the Stapleton North again, just to get an idea of what their hotels look like. And there's the DoubleTree by Hilton North. We could get that exact hotel on Priceline right now for $85 if we really wanted to stay there. So $85 is a pretty good deal compared to $129. However, we could get a 3.5 star level hotel for $61 on Hotwire. So if we didn't have to stay in that exact hotel, that would be an option. So now I'm jumping over to the express deals, and what express deals are, they're exactly like hot rates. They give you a star level, they give you a price, you just don't know your hotel. In Hotwire at 61, 3.5 star hotel on Priceline, $59. So we just made it a little bit cheaper, not a lot, but a little bit. So here's the name your own price tool, and what you're gonna do here is you're gonna select the area of town that you're interested in, just like we've been doing, and then at the bottom, you're gonna type in the price that you wanna bid. And remember I said we wanna go 20% below the Hotwire rate? So we're gonna type in $49, which is 20% below $61. So we're not saving a ton of money between the two, but we're getting it as cheap as possible. And I've done this for years, ever since Hotwire came out, and I'm telling you, the 20% is just like the magic number. It works a lot. So we're gonna type in our name, Storm Chaser. It's going to give you how much it's going to cost with your fees and taxes. And this is where you'll enter in your credit card information. I did not fill out my credit card information, I'm sorry. Not going to give that. And then you hit buy your hotel now, and you'll get one of two messages. Go ahead and click pause on it for a second. Okay, so you're gonna get one of two messages when you click buy your hotel. It's either gonna say, congratulations, you got the DoubleTree hotel at Stapleton North, or it's gonna say, we're sorry, we can't accept your offer. If you get the latter message, you're not gonna be able to bid on that star level of hotel and that area of town again for 24 hours. That's how Priceline works. Now you can change the area of town and bid on that same star level again, or you can choose a lower star level and bid on that same area. But you can't use those two combinations together for 24 hours. That's how Priceline works. So immediately, yeah. They have a set price, and if you bid below that price, you don't get it. If you bid above that price, you get it. So it's an immediate turnout. Okay, go ahead and hit play again. And let's say instead of going 20% below, you went like 50% below. Did you hit play? That's good. There you go. All right. So if you entered in $29, you're going to get this highlighted red message which says, due to recent data, it's very unlikely that you're going to get this hotel. If you ever see that message, they're not going to accept your offer. So bump it up a little bit. So you can see I changed it to 39, and it did that. Okay, so one thing I like to do if I'm gonna go with a hot rate hotel is compare the prices after taxes. So even though Priceline's at $59 right now and Hotwire's at $61, the taxes might come out to be different the way that they calculate it. So you just wanna double check that, make sure you're getting the cheapest price. So you see our total on Priceline.com is $148.96 total for the 2 nights. So if we somehow couldn't get our bid through, we went with a hot rate, this one would be our best bet. So does that make sense? So here's a little trick in Hotwire that I really like. They just added it recently, and it's really a neat feature. And it says, book soon, the last person got the DoubleTree by Hilton Denver. Whenever you see that message, that's 99% likely the hotel that you're gonna get. So they're kind of revealing the hotel that you're gonna get. So if you see a hotel up there that you really don't wanna stay in, don't bid on the hotel. But 99% of the time, that's the hotel you're gonna get. So as you know, these presentations, we need sponsors. So I went around and I got a few sponsors, and this one is sponsored by Motel 6. We'll leave the black light on. And here's a pro tip for you. Never bring a black light to a hotel. Ignorance is bliss. All right. Moving on to Airbnb. How many of you are familiar with Airbnb? Just to get an idea. So actually a lot of you aren't, okay? So Airbnb just came out a few years ago, and what it does is it allows people to rent out their homes or a room in their home to travelers who are coming through so that they can make extra income to help pay their rent or whatever they might need that income for. And what's great about Airbnb is it's often well below the hotel prices. So I've stayed in 1 or 2 Airbnbs, and I've just rented a room out in a house for a night, and I've usually paid on average 29 bucks. So if you're really on a budget and you're really tight, and I was talking to a chaser, I won't say his name, but I was talking to a chaser last night, and he was talking about how he sleeps in the trunk of his car to save money. I don't know about you, but it's worth it for like $19 to $29 to have a bed and a shower. It's not that much. So Airbnb is great for that. And another time it's great is if you're going to a really big city and all the hotels are booked out due to a convention. So I went to Las Vegas a few years ago, and due to a convention, all the hotels were booked out except a few one-star hotels, and they were trying to charge 200 bucks a night. And I'm like, no, thank you. So I hadn't used Airbnb before, so I went online and I found a fantastic room for, I think I spent $35 a night. No resort fees, no extra taxes, 35 bucks. So it was a great deal. So it's usually even less expensive than what you're gonna get with Hotwire and Priceline. You are going to give up a few amenities though. If you just rent out a room in the house, you're going to give up some privacy. So oftentimes the homeowner will be at home while you're there. So you'll have to deal a little bit with that, but everyone I've dealt with has been extremely nice. They want to get good reviews from you, so they're going to treat you like royalty while you're there. So some of the other things you'll give up are like pools, gyms, etc. But I mean, you get what you pay for, 19 bucks. I don't have a swimming pool. I'm okay with that. So, but you can find a room or a place customized to your liking. And I put together just this one's really short. Go ahead and hit play again. Just to give you guys a visual example of how it works. So this is actually, I pulled it from a video that I actually did on my YouTube channel. And this is when I went to Reno. And so you can drag your price down as low as you want. I went down to $45 for this example. And you see on the left, you have 3 options. You can do the entire home, you can do a private room, or you can do a shared room. A shared room, they're gonna have bunk beds in the room, and it's kind of like a hostel, but I've seen those go for as cheap as $5 a night, and you still get a shower. So that's definitely an option if you really, really wanna save. But I like these other options. I like to make it feel as much like a hotel as possible. So I like a TV in my room. We're storm chasers, we want internet so we can look at our models for the next day. So that's an important feature you're gonna wanna select. And I also click on cable just to make it feel more like a hotel room. So Airbnb is a great option. It's I think this is just the reviews that I reviewed. So you can actually look and see what people said about it and everything. So I think that's it for that. So let's jump over to loyalty and rewards. So at the beginning of the presentation, I told you I made it to Chasercon. My airfare, rental car, hotel was all paid for. I do that using the Chase Sapphire Preferred Card. What that does is as you use your card throughout the year, you earn points, and those points translate into travel rewards at the end of the year. Every year I earn about $900 in travel just by using my credit card on my everyday purchases. And there's an annual fee after the first year of $95. So $900 in rewards, that's only 10% of that. So it's well worth it. But there is a caveat. You want to make sure that you pay off your credit card every month. If you don't have the discipline to pay off your credit card, you're going to incur interest fees and it's going to negate all the rewards. So you don't want to let those bills add up. You're going to get in trouble. So if you don't have the discipline to pay off your credit card, I don't recommend this. But if you do, I have it on me right now. I love this card. And it's even metal. It kind of makes you feel rich when you hold it. So if you'd rather use your points to just pay off your card, like with cash, the Discover It is a good option. I'm not really familiar with this card, but I've heard a lot of good things about it for those that prefer cash. But I like to travel, so I like to use those points and reward myself. And and get the travel. So I highly recommend the Chase Sapphire Rewards card. The other perk is the first year that you sign up, if you spend a certain amount within, I think, 3 months, they give you 50,000 bonus points, and that translates to, I think, like $800 or $900 of travel. So just for signing up for the card after those 3 months, you're already going to have $900 worth of travel. So when you're trying to save money, free is always the best, right? Or you could just convince Roger to let you present and get your trip paid for that way too. All right, the other type of loyalty programs are hotel rewards. How many of you are Hilton Honors Rewards members? Okay, quite a few of you, which is good. For those that aren't, I want you to go up to the front desk, form a line, and I want you to sign up for this card and tell them to add your last 2 nights to your hotel. Once you have that on there, 2 more nights in any Hilton hotel, you're going to have a free hotel stay. It's worth it. It's definitely worth it. So I guarantee Roger at one point in time has been a member of the Diamond level because of his tours. And the Diamond level, I used to work for Chesapeake Energy, and I traveled for them, and I got up to that Diamond level because I just used it all the time. They treat you like royalty. They upgrade you to really nice suites. They leave little candy bars in your room and things on your pillow. And it's nice to be treated like royalty. But even if you have the base level of the Hilton card, there's perks that come with that too. So there was a day I was chasing near Childress, and I had no cell phone data. And the storm, it was after dark, there was a storm over me. I really didn't know what it was doing, and I was kind of scared of hail and maybe even a tornado. I mean, you can't see anything, and you have no data. And I went into Childress, and I still was having trouble. This was a few years back when data was pretty crappy. I went into Childress, and there was a Hampton Inn. I went in there and showed them my loyalty card, and I said, hey, I'm a member, can I use your business center? They let me jump in there. I jumped online, looked at the radar, saw that I was kind of getting close to hail, but I knew where I needed to go to get out of the hail shaft. So there's perks with any level of the card. The one that says John Doe, that's the Holiday Inn card. If you go to a Holiday Inn, you might see Eugene going after the cinnamon rolls at the buffet. He has a preference for those. The Choice Privileges program is a network of hotels, so you'll get your comfort inns, your sleep inns, all of that chain, and those free nights are valid at any one of their hotels. And a lot of other hotels have programs, Best Western. If there's a hotel out there, they likely have a loyalty program. Whenever you stay at a hotel, get their card and use it because you're earning points for a free night. And we all love free nights while we're out storm chasing, right? Okay, do you have a gas buddy? Not that kind of gas buddy. And I got Eugene and Chris to volunteer for this picture. It took some coercion. But this is the Gas Buddy I'm talking about, the Gas Buddy app. How many of you have Gas Buddy on your phone? Okay, decent number of you. If you don't, pop out your phone right now and download it. This is about the only way that you can save money on gas. And what it does is you click that little locator beacon with the gas pump right there, and that's going to tell you what gas stations are near you and how much the prices are. And so that's a great way to figure out where the cheapest gas is in the city that you're going through. So if you don't have it, download it right now, put it on your phone. It's fantastic. The other way to save money is carpooling when we chase. I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely love having a chase partner. Maybe not that kind of chase partner. As Dr. Persoff talked about last year, it's great to have somebody who can do the navigating, look at the radar while you're focusing on the road. We've all seen what has happened with some distracted driving recently, and it's well worth it to have a storm chasing partner. So here's a flattering picture of Chasercon back in 2012. You see a David Mayhew in the background there, Charles Edwards, and there's Eugene, and there's me at the table. That's when I first meet Eugene Thiessen. And shortly after Chasercon, he sent me a message and he said, hey, do you want to go storm chasing? And I said, yes, I would love to. He's a veteran storm chaser. I've only seen a few tornadoes. It's likely if I go with him, I can see tornadoes, and I can save money on gas if we can split the costs. Now, if you do have a storm chasing buddy, don't be the guy that doesn't pay for gas, who just rides along. You're not going to have that chasing buddy for very long if you do that. But that day that he texted me, we went out. How many of you were out on, what was it, March 8th, 2012? The Hollis tornado, that elephant trunk that was out there. Was anybody on that? No? Okay. So I think it was March 8th, 2012, but that was the tornado we saw that day. And I was so glad that I took him up on his offer. And we've actually formed a great partnership over the years. And Eugene and I have seen Roselle, Ray, Dodge City. Well, we weren't together on the Dodge City day, but Chapman. So a lot of great tornadoes, and that's all because we formed that partnership, and he's taught me a lot. So for those of you in here who are new to storm chasing, I highly recommend trying to meet up with somebody that has experienced storm chasing. It's a great way to learn, it's a great way to be safe, and I can't recommend it highly enough. All right, so do you guys hate chaser convergence? At the very front of the line, you know there's some snail holding up the line. You're starting to freak out. It's driving you nuts. Well, you've heard of the Dominator. You've heard of the TIV. And for only 100 payments of $900.99, you can get away from the tornado. Got to watch that again. Man, I need one of those. All right, what does the Fox say? So car rental companies to avoid. So we're going to jump into car rental companies. Fox Rental Cars has one of the worst reviews that you're going to find out there. So stay away from Fox at all costs. They have a history of overcharging rentals. And what they do is after you have paid for your rental, they will charge your credit card for the collision and GPS, and they'll charge it, and the only way you can get it off is to deal with their horrible customer service. So stay away from Fox. They're awful. The other one to stay away from is Advantage. They will oftentimes add the collision when you say you don't want it, and they also have poor reviews. They're always off terminal, and you have to wait for a shuttle to get out to Advantage. So if you're going to go storm chasing, you don't want to wait for a shuttle. You want to get on the road and get to your storms. So that's a good reason to avoid them. But those two companies are almost always the cheapest. So what do? Well, you go back to Old Faithful, back to the Hotwire Priceline model. So again, you're going to go to either one of these sites, compare the prices, find your cheapest deal, but they have the option to do a hot rate to where you don't know which car rental company you're getting, but you know you're going to get a car. And instead of star levels, they base it on the type of car. So you can bid on a compact car, you can bid on a standard car, you can bid on a convertible. If you want to chase in a convertible, you go right ahead. So this is what it's going to look like. And on the right, you're going to see the options of car companies that you might get. And you might be a little worried that Advantage is one of those options. But here's a little trick. See how it says on airport? It will never say on airport if it's Advantage. They're always off airport, and they're really far off the airport. So whenever you see Advantage in the list, as long as you see that on airport message, you know you're going to get one of the other companies. And for my trip here, I actually used Hotwire, and this is the same rate that I got, and I ended up with Thrifty. And I was really happy with Thrifty's car rental, so it's great. I also like to compare other sites before I make my final decision. As you can see, they have the express deal, which is similar to the hot rate, and it's $42 a day rather than the $37.89, so they're a little more expensive. So I'm not going to go with Priceline. You can bid on cars on Priceline, but I actually discourage bidding because you almost always end up with Fox or Advantage. I've found by experience, and those are the two companies you don't want. But if you do the express deal, you usually won't end up with those car rental companies. I also check orbits just in case. Sometimes the general websites will be cheaper than the hot rates, so just double check everywhere. The more work you put into it, the more money you're going to save. Hotwire is definitely the best deal in this case, and that's why I went with them. And this section, we also want to talk about taking insurance. So what can go wrong while you're storm chasing? There's a few things, probably not that. That's likely not going to happen if you're a safe storm chaser, but what's the one thing we worry about? Hail, right? So it's not a bad idea. When I came out for my Chasecation in 2008, my dad and I flew out, and I took out insurance on our car rental, and sure enough, we ended up in hail, and there was a big old crack going down the windshield. I didn't have to worry about it. I turned it in, and I said, a severe storm happened to come over us, and we got into some hail. And they said, no problem, you have the insurance, and they moved on. So if you're worried about that, it's not a bad idea, but you might already have it. If you have full coverage insurance on your car, you likely have full coverage insurance on any rental car that you get. So look into that, call your insurance company, just ask them, hey, I'm renting a car, am I covered? If you are, there's no reason to get it because the car rental companies will use your insurance before they use their insurance if you already have it. So keep that in mind. But you should ask yourself a few questions. What coverage do I already have? We just covered that. Where will I be driving? So am I going to be driving through really big cities where there's pretty bad drivers? If you drive through Dallas at all, you're going to want insurance. Do I need to worry about hail? So are you a core puncher on every single storm? Or do you like to keep your distance? Are you going to do everything you can to stay out of the hail? How is my driving history? So we all like to think of ourselves as good drivers, but if we have a lot of accidents in our history and we're prone to it, we're going to want that insurance to cover ourselves so we don't have to worry about it. If you do decide on insurance, read the fine print. So make sure that they don't have a caveat in the fine print that says you will not be covered if you drive under a severe storm and get into softball-sized hail. So you just want to make sure that you know what you're covered for when you're taking the insurance. All right, so this section, I forgot about that part, might only be covered by one driver. So that's important when you're storm chasing. If you are traveling in a group and you're going to switch off drivers a lot, you're probably not going to want to take the insurance because if you have the other person driving, they get in an accident, you're not going to be covered. So, yeah.
One thing you have to watch out, if you use your own insurance, is a lot of times the insurance company will make you clear your damage, and then you have to file the insurance for reimbursement.
Yep, you're right. Yeah.
You get it, but you still pay out of pocket.
Yes. So that's a very good point, and that's something that you should keep in mind when you're taking out the insurance. So, all right, this section is sponsored by Enterprise. We'll beam you up. And I heard Tim's still working on his spot symbol. All right, so you got to fight for your flight. So you're going to get out of you'll get out what you put in when you're booking a flight. It's really hard to use Hotwire or Priceline for flights. You can try bidding on them, but their whole system is just really messy, and oftentimes there's fees that'll be tacked on after you book the flight. So you can't really use that model very well. I usually start with Orbitz or another general website, but one thing I really like to do is check on airlines' direct sites. So when you check Orbitz, you're not going to see airlines like Southwest, you're not going to see Allegiant, you're not going to see Frontier. Well, sometimes you'll see Frontier. Don't fly Frontier. So I was supposed to fly Frontier from Oklahoma City to Denver, and they started delaying our flight. They said there's a mechanical issue. They left us on the plane for about an hour and a half. Then they deplaned us and said it's going to be about 3 hours. You know, this is just yesterday, and they delayed it for 3 hours. Then they put us back on the plane. As soon as we sat down on the plane, they said, we're going to have to ask you guys to get off the plane. They took us off the plane and they said, this flight has been canceled. So, and our only option is for you to fly out tomorrow. So I looked into other options for flights. They were all over $1,000. And I just said, I'm going to drive to Denver for Chasercon. So I drove 10 hours yesterday, or not yesterday, but the day before, I'm sorry. This was Friday. So I got here, I'm here, but don't fly Frontier. That rhymed. So Allegiant and Southwest are pretty good. They're generally cheap. But being flexible on your dates is likely the way you're going to save the most money, and I'll show you guys how to do that here. Like I said, Priceline and Hotwire are okay, but they're not great. There's so many fees that get tacked on afterwards. Really, just booking the flight and knowing what airline you're going to have is probably your best bet. I should have put a scratch line through Frontier. Spirit, I've heard bad things about, but I've never flown them, so I'm not going to say yay or nay on them. But watch for hidden fees with these airlines. They like to charge you for your baggage. They want to charge you for what seat. If you don't choose your seat, they're probably going to try to get you in a middle seat. Who likes a middle seat? I don't like a middle seat. So just watch for those hidden fees. Keep that in mind and look at what those fees are going to be before you make your final decision. Even though a flight might appear to be more expensive through United or American, look at what those fees add up to, calculate your final cost, and then go with your least expensive choice. So at the very bottom here, you see where it says my dates are flexible? See that check mark? That's a great option in Orbitz, and what it does is it creates a little map of different dates. So as you can see, you know, I want to fly in the 16th for this convention, but if I was a little more flexible, you can see I could fly out on Monday, February 19th, and it's only $133. And that's a great way to see what the different rates are on different days just by clicking that flexible dates option. It'll open your eyes to different flights that you didn't know were so much less. All right, exit row magic. So this is a new trick I just picked up recently, and this is a screenshot that I took from a cell phone app. And cell phone apps are really nice right before your flight. If you haven't selected a seat and they're wanting to charge you for a seat, download that airline's app and they'll show you what seats are available and how much they want to charge you for those seats. However, if there's an exit row available, I always go up to the desk and I try to get there a little bit early before a lot of seats have been assigned. And I tell them, I'm willing to sit in the exit row seat. I noticed there's a seat available. I'm willing to sit there. And every time I've done that, they've upgraded me to that seat. And the reason they do that is they have to be sure that whoever is sitting in the exit row seat is willing to perform those duties. But exit row seats are great because you have more leg room, and if something does happen, you're right by the exit, you can get out quick. So it's a great way to get a good seat. On one case, I was assigned a middle seat in the back of the plane, and I went up and did this and got an exit row seat on the window. So it's worth it to download the app, make sure there's one available, and just say, I noticed there's a seat open. Would you be open to me taking that seat? All right, this has been sponsored by United Customer Service, Special Seating and Apparel Division. You guys remember that incident? All right, let's jump into Allsup's Almanac. So the Farmer's Almanac forecasts weather for the year, and Allsup's Almanac forecasts CAPE values based on climate trends and consumption of burritos. So CAPE in this instance is Chaser, available potential energy, and they even have a formula. The number of burritos consumed divided by the number of chasers consuming them. So the more burritos that are being consumed by the fewer number of chasers, the more potential energy is there. So coupons are your friends. So do you guys get little flyers or little newspapers in your mailboxes? A lot of times they're called Buyer's Edge, and they have coupons in them. You guys familiar with that? So oftentimes there are fast food restaurants that offer coupons. And earlier I talked about carpooling, and a great thing about those coupons is you can get 2 for 1 on different types of meals. So it's really hard to save a ton of money on food, but coupons, if you're gonna eat out while you're out, that's the way to do it. However, the best way to save money is packing a lunch or dinner from home. And Dr. Persoff talked last year about how that's oftentimes the healthier option. So when you're out on the road, most of the time, you know, your food options are likely going to be a gas station convenience store, and they don't have much. So planning ahead is going to save you money, and it's also going to be healthier for you. There's other ways to save. I just mentioned the 2 for 1 coupons. There's other discount coupons. Sometimes you can get a free soda with your meal. You can get free fries, different options. But why not toss those in your car? I keep a little folder that says coupons on it in the back seat of my car. Why not have it in the car so that when you do unexpectedly pull into a fast food restaurant, you have that coupon. You can save a few bucks. But it's okay to celebrate a successful chase with a steak, especially if you just save $60 on a hotel. All right, let's jump into gear. How am I doing on time? We're doing all right? So, there's different ways to save with gear, but technology is your friend. So if you are really needing to chase on a budget, you can't afford all of these, extravagant systems in your car. Today, with technology, you can just chase with your phone. I mean, we saw yesterday so many people had radar scope. AllisonHouse has some really good deals on additions to radar scope. So you don't need to go all out. Please don't spend money on light bars. Don't spend money on decking out your vehicle if you don't have the money to do so. Don't max out that credit card I was showing you and then not be able to pay that off. Honey is a great app, and I've got to give Chris Sanner props for this. He pointed this out to me a while ago, and Honey is fantastic. It's always searching for coupons based on the website that you're on and the product that you're looking at. And they will actually come up with a pop-up window once you add an item to your cart, and they will directly apply the coupon for you. You don't have to do anything, and oftentimes it'll reduce your price by 20 to 30%, which is fantastic on gear. Another option that they have is a drop-down menu that allows you to watch a certain item for so many days, and you can type in what price you'd like to have them notify you if it goes below. So in this instance, SD cards, we all need SD cards. I run out of them all the time because I'm shooting like crazy. And so if the price drops below $31.27, they're going to notify me that SD cards of this level are on sale. So that's a nice little feature to have to get that notification so you can buy your SD cards or whatever gear you're looking at buying when that price goes below a threshold that you set. Brand names always cost more. Amazon has a new feature called Amazon Basics. And I recommend this not for your really nice gear, your cameras, your lenses. You do want to go with the nicer brands. But when it comes to accessories, this is great. So tripods, like I was talking about, SD cards, camera bags is a really good candidate for this. So if you go to Amazon and you click on Amazon Basics, they'll find, they'll kind of rule out the higher end brand names, and you can kind of see some of the lower prices. So that's a nice trick. So do you always shoot with the auto function on your camera, and you're likely not going to learn a lot of those advanced settings that we learned about with David Mayhew yesterday, and you're just getting into photography and you don't know how to do all of that stuff? There's no reason to buy an extremely expensive camera body. You can buy much less expensive camera bodies when you're first learning, and he talked about this, like the Canon Rebel was one that he recommended to beginners. There's no reason to go nuts when you're first learning a camera because you're likely not going to know how to use it. And there's going to be a tornado, and you're going to be like aperture, and you're going to be like panicking and trying to figure out, and you're going to take a picture and it's going to be really dark, and you're not going to be happy about it. And also, if you're torn over spending more on the camera body or the lens, always choose the latter. So especially like the wide angle shots. So we were talking about this yesterday. This is kind of almost a review, but the wide angle shots, that's going to capture your storms in so much better detail. The other day, Roger posted a picture to Facebook that just blew. I hadn't seen it yet. It was that that Wyoming June 10th, 2010, I think. But he had to have a wide camera angle to get that shot. And so always spend your money on the lens over the camera body. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I should have included a video. So when I was on Dodge City, I had my phone set up in my car because it was live streaming, and then I was in front of my car and set up my tripod, and the inflow was just insane, and my live stream captured the wind blowing my tripod over with the camera on it. So yeah, that's right. You don't want to go skimpy on tripods. You want to make sure they're weighty. That's the biggest thing. And also, quick to adjust, because getting them out of the car, or like the monopod, you just want to keep those things in mind.
If you want to go heavy duty, they make tripods that you can add a weight underneath. So if you're doing a hurricane, you want a tripod that can actually add a sandbag underneath so that it's not going to tip over. So
Yeah, it's good stuff. All right, so I think we have some time for some questions here, so go ahead.
You were talking about the bidding of the hotel prices. You said that you couldn't be able to bid until another 24 hours later if you weren't getting it right. Is that by your name or is that by your IP address? If you have more than one storm chaser, can you change names and keep bidding?
Yeah, that's a great question. So that's set up based on your account. So you can do that. If you have several different people with different accounts, they're going to have no idea that you have any relation to that person. So even if you're on the same IP, they don't recognize that. And my dad and I did that on our first Chasercon trip in 2008. I would bid, and then if I didn't get it, he'd bid a little bit higher. And in one instance, we got one of the Hyatt Place hotels, which those are really nice, and we got it for like $30, and I was blown away. That's when Priceline first came out, like in 2008. Yeah.
If you're chasing on a weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, car rentals are much, much cheaper. I've been able to get car rentals for $15 for Hertz
Yeah.
or some of those because it's a weekend and they have much lower capacity then, and they're willing to deal with you on the weekend.
Yeah, and that's actually a really good point. The weekend deals are always better, and also a lot of companies have coupons that are specific for the weekend. So before you go, and that's something I should have added to this presentation, but look up coupons for the car company that you're looking to rent with, and a lot of times you can find good deals. And if you have a Costco membership, they have really good deals on car rentals, so keep that in mind. Yeah, David? I didn't catch the first part of your.
On the Hotline Priceline, is that any effective for the day of booking, or is it a month ahead?
Yeah, you can do a month ahead. That's what's great. So if you're not storm chasing and you have the luxury of looking out way ahead, use that model of just bidding once every 24 hours until you get that star level for really cheap. And that's something you can do. Obviously, when we're storm chasing, we don't know what city we're going to end up in that night, so it's harder. But that's a great point.
On the Airbnb, what has been your experience or anybody else's experience in terms of how much notice does that person typically need? You're chasing, let's say, around Hayes, Kansas, and have no idea where you're going to end up. So you're done chasing, you're looking for something. How much notice do you typically have to give them?
So they don't have a specific requirement on Airbnb, but the person that owns the house has to approve your request. So you'll find out pretty quickly whether or not they're going to accept it. And I had an instance where I was traveling, I think, through Albuquerque, and I did an Airbnb, and I let them know about 2 hours before, and they still accepted. So it's up to the individual renter what they want to decide on. You know, if they don't see it in time, then you might not get accepted, but it's based on their decision. So, yeah.
I was going to add a comment. I know the computer systems the airlines use, they kind of load their new flights on most of their systems Tuesday at 3 p.m. If you're planning a trip, you might find better deals. I tried it
Yeah.
last week, and I saw like for deals in Chicago, $98, and I found $39. That just came out that they just said you'd have to go out.
Yeah, so I've seen a lot of back and forth about that. Yeah, yeah. So that is a good point. You can check different days of the week. Be careful. What's that? Eastern time. Yeah. So, but be careful on waiting too long, because usually as you wait longer and longer, prices are going to go up as those flights fill up. So that's something to be careful about. But there has been a lot of back and forth that I've seen about specific days of the week, and you know the airlines are watching this, and so if they're watching these discussions. So if you book, or if you're looking at prices on a Tuesday, just be careful. Compare day by day. That's the best way to do it. So, yeah.
I've seen some sites say they give you a lower price guarantee on flights, so the prices drop.
Yeah, I've seen that too. I haven't had direct experience with that, but you're right. I have seen like Orbitz or Travelocity, they'll say lowest price guaranteed. And what they mean by that is if for some reason the price of the flight goes down in latter days after you have booked your flight, they will reimburse you for the cost difference of the flight. So that could be a good option. And like I said, it's hard to find good deals on flights. It's a lot of work, so that's just another weapon to add to your arsenal. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, in the back there.
A couple of the questions I've already asked. To take that a step further, if I'm going nuts and chasing until 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, particularly, which I do sometimes because I don't always have the opportunities to go out, are there any issues there with trying to use the Priceline outlier method at 3 or 4 in the morning, or is it?
No, not at all. Yeah, you're fine at any time of day. Yeah. Go ahead.
You mentioned the frustration of dealing with non-responsive customer service.
Yes.
Former banker, retired banker in compliance. And don't forget that you have rights with your charge card.
It's true.
So if you have made a bona fide effort to deal with customer service and they're not responsive, just contest that charge on your charge card. Document as you go. It'll help you win the case. But I've never had a problem with things just being taken right off the charge card if it wasn't what I knew it was supposed to be.
That is such a fantastic comment. I'm so glad you added that. So that credit card I showed you guys, Chase Preferred, they are amazing at covering things. So when I moved recently, I moved back to Oklahoma City. I had to change my mailing address, and I thought I had gone to the USPS website to change my address, but I had ended up on this other site that had this little hidden thing in their fine print, and they charged me $60 to change my address. So I called Chase and I said, these guys are scam artists. They hid it from me, and Chase completely refunded me my money. So that's a great, fantastic point. Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up. Yep.
Yeah, for the rental car thing, it's really loss damage waiver. So there's a lot of options, you know. It's really loss damage waiver. It's basically a drop in the law. Right? Use your own insurance for liability. And the other is don't check the box about letting them fill the car up. Bring the car back.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah.
Not for like you bring it back a quarter.
Yep. Yeah.
So it's a huge rip-off.
Always fill your own tank. That's a good point. Man, there's so many things I should have added to this presentation. Great. Yeah.
Jason, I've got some things to add because I do see the logistics work. So I rent cars a lot, or anything like car rent and stuff. One thing I will say is literally sign up for every program from Enterprise, Hertz, Alamo, Thrifty. Sign up for all of their programs.
Yes.
Even if you get a hot rate car, they will add rewards points to your account, and you can get free rentals or reduced rate rentals. I've used Enterprise in particular a lot because you get a AAA discount. You can also get, like check their discounts because they sometimes will do like you're doing chasing on education for a week. They'll do a 20% discount and then they'll do a 15% AAA discount. Recently, I got a car that I should have paid. It was a 3-day rental. I should have paid $135 for. I think I would have wound up paying $62.
Wow.
For it, just because I had AAA and I also had I used their coupon off of their website. Just check all of those, and even if you get a hot rate vehicle, then you can still get rewards points, and that adds up to free or reduced rate rentals.
Yeah, that's a great point. And like I was talking about with the loyalty programs, that's going to work the same way. So as you earn points with them, you'll likely, I haven't done a lot with car rentals, but you'll earn free rental car days. Yeah.
Just a note for the insurance part is that if you file a claim for your insurance on a rental car, it will show up on your insurance history and will affect your rates. Sometimes it is just better to spend usually when you go through Priceline or Hotwire, you will get there, full coverage through Alliance, and it's usually like half the price that you'll pay at Enterprise,
Yeah.
et cetera. And it's a drop and walk. It's like I know some people, I think actually Ben and he's in here, completely destroyed an expedition last year, and he was able to drop it and walk away because he had the full coverage.
Wow.
And I mean, he took it through the Carpenter storm, and I saw it sitting there, and it was done.
Wow.
It took softballs, but because he had that, he was able to walk away from that, no liability. So sometimes it is really worth it. If you think you're gonna get anywhere kind of close to the storm, just spend the money because it's a hell of a lot cheaper to spend an extra $60 on a rental than to have a $40,000 SUV total and have that
Yeah, thank you so much for outlining that. There's so many good points there. That there are even things I didn't know about, so that's great.
I'd like to suggest too having the AAA Plus card, like not just the basic level, but pay more for the upgrade to the Plus, because then you have something like 4, visits or tows or whatever a year, but they'll tell you up to like 100 miles, they bring you gas or, new battery, and they'll actually, if the battery fails, they'll replace it at their cost. It's well worth it.
That's good. So if you guys couldn't hear her in the outskirts of the room, she's talking about the AAA Plus card, and that's something I didn't touch on, but that's something to think about. If your car breaks down while you're out storm chasing, that's really easy to happen. So that's great. Thanks.
I was going to add, normally when looking at flights last minute, if Southwest is a little bit more, sometimes it's worth it to go with Southwest, because we're storm chasers. We're like, all right, I'm going to stay out an extra day or two or something. They don't charge any fees for changing your flight. You just pay any difference in the actual flight itself. But I was on the hook one time with United because I kept extending my chasing vacation. I'm like, oh, there's another setup. And I kept paying that $75 change fee, and then I ended up canceling the flight, and then I still paid them, and I never stepped foot on one of their planes. So usually
Wow.
It might be worth it if the Southwest flight is like, a couple dollars more. Plus, they don't charge for bags and everything. They don't really have any hidden fees or anything like that.
Baggage, and if you're actual media, like legitimate media, like you're credentialed with an outlet, they let you on the plane first, and they don't weigh your bags. Like my bag weighs like 90 pounds, and they're like, they put a big sticker on it that says overweight, but I don't get charged the fee.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but Southwest is by far my favorite airline to fly on. They're just fantastic. So, yep.
Another thing on rental car insurance, another place you may already have is one of your credit cards.
Yes.
Check your credit cards, because they may.
Yep. Yeah, any Visa specifically, Visa credit cards, they have a certain level of insurance. However, it's usually not full collision everything. But you're right, any Visa card does have insurance. Yeah.
For the Chase card, if you only fly like a couple times a year, would you still say it's worth it to get it?
It really depends on how much money you spend per year. So right now, I only fly, like on an average year, I fly twice a year, once to Chasercon, and then I fly home to Oregon for Christmas to visit my family. And every year, I pay for those two things with my rewards points. So that's usually what it covers for me. But you don't have to use it for flights. So you can actually use it for hotels, you can use it for car rentals, and you can use it for cash, but it's not as valuable. So like if you turn it in directly for cash, they take like 30% off of the travel value. So they give you extra value if you use it for travel. That's what I like about it, is it kind of expands in value if you use it specifically for travel. But even if you only fly a couple of years, if you stay in hotels at all, it's absolutely worth it. Yeah. So. Yep.
I don't mean to turn this into the here's my tip sort of. If you're truly interested in chasing and you want a different option for sleeping at night, call a little bit earlier in the day. You kind of know where you're going to land. KOA campgrounds actually are surprisingly nice and clean.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily, it's not all tent and trailer camping. They have like cabins, little cabins you can get. The one I got was like $34 or something like that. You can bring your own sleeping bag in there. At least you got a roof over your head. I was worried about a hailstorm that day. And you can work with them all in the beginning. They leave the key under the mat, and everything's clean. You got a bathroom, a shower.
Yeah, I never actually thought about KOA.
Yeah,
But that's
it was kind
yeah.
of a lucky accident, but at least the one in Amarillo was nice, and the one in Fort Collins too. So.
Yeah. How much was that for a night? Do you remember?
It was like I think it was like $34, and then for an extra $10, you can get a TV in the cabin.
Wow, I'd pay the 10.
Power in the cabin, so you can charge all your stuff. Bring your own power strip because there was like one outlet, but
Yeah.
you probably do anyway. So
Yeah, that's a great tip. Thanks for sharing that.
Also, if you want to bring your pets storm chasing, La Quinta is the hotel for you. They are super friendly about pets. They want to introduce your cat to the wonder of nature. We're all set. Some woman had like 9 dogs in the room next to us. Oh, it's pretty eater, but I mean, the hotel seemed okay with it. So.
Introducing your cat to the wonder of nature, for those that did not hear that. All right. Any more questions?
Two motels that I particularly recommend. One in Salina, it's called the Best Inn. It's right there on the northwest side are super chaser friendly and they charge $45 a night during chase season. As stated, they're documenting an ice storm last January, and the owner of the hotel said they actively welcome storm chasers, and they would, during the summer months, they do $45 a night. And they're fairly simple, but it's clean, and they have TVs, and they only have a couple outlets because it was a little bit older. They used to be really shady, but they remodeled it. Also, they're an Amarillo. It used to be the Holiday Inn. I think it's like the Amarillo Plaza or something. It's like $37 a night, but it's actually clean, simple, and really nice. It's right here on I-40 by the Courthouse Association. Those two motels, I've seen consistently. They're always clean, they're always cheap, and they actively welcome storm chasers. So.
Cool. What's that? What was the first hotel again?
The Best Inn in Salina, Kansas.
Yep. One other thing I forgot to mention was car chasing vehicles, just really quick. Focus on gas mileage. That's your biggest thing. If you want to save money, if your purpose is to save money when you're looking at a chasing vehicle, is gas mileage. It's okay to get an off-road vehicle, and if you get a Toyota Prius, it might not be the best off-road vehicle. However, you're going to save a lot of money. So that's the main tip I was going to get, was saving that money. So.
One more thing, I've done this trip a couple of times, going west a long ways. Like, let's say you're in Kansas City and you got a target like in Brooklyn or something, or out west somewhere. You might be near, you take I-80 west or I-70 west. I have stayed north of a boundary where it's 20-degree cooler. Save on, you don't have to use your air conditioner.
Oh, okay. There you go. Use the weather to save money. That's great. Yeah.
Kind of bounce off the KOA thing. I have an app that's tied to Army Corps of Engineering, and if you don't care and you like to camp, you can sleep for free with a shower every single night.
Really?
$1,000 to every single state park, and it doesn't matter how many people are with you. Sometimes it's $10, $8, but they have showers. Sometimes there's power. I mean, you're like camping. It's like a real deal. It's like, snakes and bears. But we're chasing tornadoes when I camp. Better than that, though.
Yeah, camping. I spent a lot of nights camping on the Pacific Crest Trail and ran into a few of those snakes and bears that you're talking about. Are we out of time, Roger? We want to? Okay. Well, thank you guys.
One, two.
Excellent. That was very informative. Thanks, Jason. We appreciate that. Okay. How many people chased May 4th, 2007? The night of the Greensburg tornado. Anybody? A few folks? What a life-changing event for a lot of folks in South Central and Central Kansas on the May 4th and May 5th periods. There were numerous violent tornadoes that occurred, but nothing like what happened in the town of Greensburg. And we're excited to have Matt Deighton with us, who lives in Greensburg and went through what happened on that unfortunate night, and he was a integral part of the rebuilding of Greensburg, and speaks around the country at different events to folks in communities who have gone through major natural disasters, and we are just real excited to welcome Matt with us.
How many hands were in Greensburg that night? Was there anybody at about 4:30 out at 183 and 54 at the Testing, 1, 2, 3. 5. Is it 1, 2, 3, 4?
Try now. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, is it? Yeah, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, okay, is there my clicker? Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. There's no business like disaster business, like no business I know. As you guys know, the results of what happened in Greensburg. We're going to play a little bit of Trivia Pursuit here just for a minute, kind of get everybody relaxed and test our tech guy here. Who knows what this was? Yes, sir. And what was it actually called?
What was it called?
It was the first tornado recorded on VHS. I saw it at the age of 11. It didn't do any really big damage, but we went out to the, actually I was playing football, and I was hiking the ball to my buddy, and I looked at him and went, what the hell? And of course we ran home because there really wasn't much, storm warnings at that time. But anyway, that's what that is. And it's pretty much kind of a famous tornado for what it is. A little bit of current events here today. Spock found that there was a Tesla Roadster following them, I guess. Who knows what this is? Mullinville, M.T. Liggett. M.T. Liggett died August the 17th, 2017. All of his belongings and all that artwork is in a trust fund, and it will never be touched, it'll never be mowed, it'll never be painted. So when you drive by there and you show your tour what it is, you can actually get as close as you can, just don't cross the fence. How'd this get in here? You don't scare me, I was taught by nuns. I'm not scared of a tornado because after what I went through, it kind of made me bulletproof. And, we've had tornadoes since the Greensburg tornado, and I storm chase a little bit, but I don't storm chase like what y'all do. I just, get a 12-pack of beer and throw it in the station wagon, get 3 buddies and my dog at the time, and we just go out driving around. This is probably the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. It says, unfortunately, Dorothy had completely forgotten about the Wicked Witch of the North by Northwest. Who likes food? Where's this picture taken? Austin, Texas. Austin, Texas. You got to eat good food when you're out there, right? And if you got guests and they're paying their own food, right? Take them to where there's some really, really, really good food. Stay the hell out of Applebee's and Chili's, okay? Go find those in the whole places where you can actually build a working relationship with the owner and the manager, because when they know you come in, they're going, oh, Timmy, you're back again. Come on, come on, come on. That's what you got to do. I was allowed to take my duck salt that was born in a FEMA trailer to the Chiefs game and set up a booth. And like I told you, it was voted #1 in the world by my mom. Then she died, and I couldn't take that back. Okay, now buckle your seatbelts because here we go. At 9:57, this is approximately the Greensburg tornado. Now, I went to Dodge City at about 4 to 4:15 that afternoon, and I saw the kids out at the mixing strip, throwing the Frisbee, and I told my mom, I said, we got to be careful because there's going to be a lot of storms. And even at 4:30, you could look to the southwest, and it was starting to build then. So when we got back at about 7:30, we have a little system in our neighborhood where the Kilgores always come to our house when the weather's bad because they don't have a basement, and neither does Mrs. Doyle. But the people that live across the street from us have a ranch-style home built in 1969, and it has a concrete subfloor because Mrs. White went through the cyclone of 26, and she said when she moves to town, she's going to make it bomb-proof. And that's what saved 11 of our lives. 3 dogs, 4 turtles, and a parakeet. It's in the book. This is what it looked like the next morning. Now, not much left, is there? Okay. This is where we had the F-150 pickup that was split in half, and the two pieces were over a mile apart. And Ben Johnson, it was his pickup, or Dennis McKinney's pickup, and Ben found the tag and ran down and found Dennis, and he said, I've never charged for parking in my life, but I think I'm going to start having to do that so that I can recuperate from the tornado. This is looking southwest, and we actually found skid marks, rubber tires, sliding up the big elevator. The bumper was on the top of the elevator, and the vehicle was down on the north side of the elevator. What took 126 years to build was gone within 8.5 minutes. 5 generations of homes destroyed. Now, what we say by that is, you can imagine at 10 o'clock when this thing hit, that complete devastation. Don't know what to do with your kids, go to your grandma's. Where's my grandma's house? It's gone. Go to your uncle's house, it's gone. Go to Aunt Janine's house. Hell, everybody's in the same spot. Everything was gone. And then those walking tornadoes started coming back around again, throwing stuff, so everybody was just trying to find cover the best they could. And a lot of people, a lot of old homes in small towns, they always have those little cyclone shelters. You can't believe how many people those will hold in an emergency. And they can hold a lot of people. This is what happened. In baseball, this is called right down the pipe. Baseball players know what I'm talking about? She came right down the damn pipe. If I say a cuss word, I hope I don't offend anybody, because it will happen. You can see how the guy in Dodge City was going, I think it's just going to keep going towards maybe Haviland, which is 10 miles to the west. And as I go through this program, if anybody has a little bit more scientific data structure, please, I may make a mistake here, so correct me towards the end if you dare. No. But the idea is that was the path. Now you see how it made the hook? That's when it started to come back through again. Now the house that I was in was not this one. I'll show you here in a minute. 952 homes destroyed in less than 8.5 minutes. 52 homes were damaged beyond engineering repair and had to be bulldozed. Now, anybody here from FEMA? Thank God, no. I disaster coach a lot, which means I just got back from Rockport, Texas here a couple months ago, and I do a community business owners meeting, where we talk, this is what we did, this is how you can rebuild, this is very good, don't worry, don't get depressed, you can do this. So then the next day I go into a room with 35 elected officials, and the first thing that I tell them is, and some people are just still dicking around on their little, they got better things to do as they're, listen to me. I said, let me ask you guys a question, and I'm going to ask it right here, so you guys participate, okay? How many of y'all have had first aid class? Raise your hand. Okay. Now, how many of you have had advanced first aid class? That's quite a few. Okay, here's the big one. How many of you have had first aid mental health class? 2, 3, 4. In the long run, what is more important? The first aid class is extremely important. The advanced is very important. Greensburg was a population 1,500 at the time of the storm, but we lost 952 homes. Mrs. Nash was widowed, and she lived in the old Nash place. Well, it was time for her to move to Hutchinson, Kansas to be near her family because she was 88 years old. Even though she was a leap year baby, I think she was 27. But anyway, Mom, you're going to have to come live with us. I don't want to come live with you. Well, you don't have a choice. There's nothing here. Okay, so she goes. And she ends up staying at the house, and her son and daughter-in-law go, what the hell was I thinking? Let's send her to my brother's house in Chanute, Kansas. She goes over there. You guys are really screwing up my life over here. Let's put her in a home. And she wants to buy a car again. Now, Mrs. Nash, when she came down the street, we hit the curb and the sidewalks. But everybody got out of her way in a one-stoplight town. Are you with me? So the mindset of, I want to rebuild my life, I want to go back home to Greensburg, ain't happening. We saw a spike of mental health anguish deaths by people who were healthy and laid their head down and died. Let's see. Now, when I'm talking to all these guys here, and pretty soon the phones are down and everybody's watching me, and I said, population 850, we're waiting on the 6th suicide. Now that we've had 5 out of 850, and the population of your community is 18,500. So you guys do the math. And when you bring FEMA in to tell you that you have to follow their guideline in their book, just piss them off and pull out page 34 and 38 and throw it away and see what the guy says. Because you got to follow it TT-ta. And the FEMA guy's sitting right over here, and he's looking at me. And I said, the reason why I tell you to do that is because this is your disaster, not Washington, D.C.'s. And the people in Washington, D.C. do not live in Rockport, Texas. So do you see the internal conversations that go in between communities and the federal government? And everybody think FEMA comes in on a white horse, and they have guns, and they have badges, and they have checkbooks. They don't have guns, they don't have badges, and they don't have checkbooks. The state is the one that allocates the money out. FEMA just sets up the guidelines. So there's all types of policies and procedures that go, but a lot of people who are on those city council boards or those school boards, they have to go through the process of rebuilding their lives, and they don't give a rat's butt because they just want to get through and get their life going and just do it. And that's not fair to the constituents that elected them. Any of that make sense? So it's just not real fun after a disaster of a huge magnitude. Did anybody watch the little video clip last night that was out here? Okay, was it okay? I do not do that to brag. What I do is I send that out because it's not about me. I'm very low key. I barely make money, but you guys will help me out today by buying all my books, I'm sure. Y'all can read, right? Anyway, no. But the idea is that with 100,000 loads of debris hauled to the landfills became full. Now, I'm going to lunch for 2 hours. This is the guy from the EPA. We have a burnable pile and we have a burial pile. And the burnable pile got a little out of hand. I'm going to lunch for 2 hours. There's 20 gallons of diesel fuel over there and a box of matches. For God's sake, when I'm at lunch for 2 hours, don't let that pile of wood catch on fire. Because I'm going to be gone for 2 hours. I might be gone for 3 hours today. Just don't let that get on fire. The fire burned for 3.5 months and smoldered. And that smell would drift into town. So you can imagine the psychological impact that these people had who were trying to figure out, do I live in a FEMA trailer? Do I go to Aunt Betsy's in Kentucky and live there? Or what do I do? Or do I become a full-time storm chaser and go to Chasercon all the time or what, you know? Because I always tell people that I have a double master's in meteorology, and I got it in less than 8 minutes one night. But I thought they'd get more or less. Infrastructure. Any city administrators in here? County government agents, school board? Okay, infrastructure means fire trucks, ambulance, schools, water tower, sewer, city trucks, county trucks, courthouse. Anything that the government has that is infrastructure for the community was wiped out. We had 3 little trucks that actually went out on the edge of town and went south 4 or 5 miles and just got outside of the path of the tornado as it was getting ready to come through. But the Seagraves and the water hauler were stationed on the inside of the truck. Now, here's where it gets really sad for me. I restored Model Ts when I was in high school. I love old cars. Behind those 2 trucks, going out of garage, those trucks are set this way. The other truck that sits this way was a 1938 Peter Perch that looked like it came off the showroom floor. 6,327 miles. I had just taken that truck 2 months before and took it and washed it and polished it and took pictures of my dog on it. And the truck went. So we thought Jay Leno was going to come through for us, but it didn't work out. All right, 55 gallons of water went somewhere. Okay, water tower holds 55 gallons of water, built in 1917. The company that bid the job to remove the water tower bid it very low because that was the highest quality of steel to recycle of cast. Does that make sense? It's not new or foreign or cheaper metal. This was the hot rivet, boom, tied together. Now, imagine that thing squeezing and 55 gallons of water went up and came through the Joneses' house, and they got a bath that night. And they had an indoor pool because it filled up their basement. Now, this is a 3-story building. It was. So we had to figure out a way to make people that lived, because it really affects a lot of your alumni. Does that make sense? Because they're trying to get to Greensburg as fast as they can to see what's going on so they can help their friends and all that fun stuff. And the class of 65, 68, 67, 68, 69, and 70, some of those people lived in Colorado, and they brought the nicest brownies out for their classmates. Even though it wasn't legal at the time. I don't know anything about that. So we took 2 or 3 kids and we snuck them in the building because it was all taped off. And we cut a bunch of wood out of the gymnasium floor, and they were little 8 or 9 inch pieces. And we had a guy zip them with a little CC machine, and he wrote Greensburg, Kansas, and the date. And then he would write the year that you graduated on it so that you had something to take home. Now, so we found the balls and some of the bricks and some of the plaques. And once we let the highway was shut down for a couple, 3 weeks. But once we started letting people back in that were classmates, and that really psychologically messed them up, because it was all gone. We'd say, why don't you go down to the school and get you a souvenir? That way you got something to remember. This is the house that I was in. Now, do you see the 73 CUDA? Is it the top button that has the laser?
The green button, yes, sir.
Right there. 98 van, 99 Bronco, 82 Ford pickup. This is the stairwell that we went down to go down there. And we went across the street and got in over there, and I told Molly, my dog, I said, stay here with these guys. You guys, I got to go back across the street. I'm going to go get my mom's meds, and I'm going to get my billfold, her billfold, and I'm going to get a 2-liter bottle of oxygen with a hose and a regulator for just in case. And I had one more mission to do. I ran back to the house. The electricity was still on. Dave Freeman, you guys know Dave Freeman. He was just, he was in shock looking at it. And I looked at Dave and I waved at him, and I reached under the seat or the sink, and Irish Catholic homes have a bottle of vodka or something underneath the seats. And I made a highball and I toasted the house. And I ran back across the street just in time for the electricity to go out. And the hail came. And 2 of us went back upstairs and put a trash can over our head to go out and get the hailstones so the kids had something to take for science on Monday. Don't ever do that. Don't ever do that. So my neighbor Rhonda was wanting a new car. And as I came up, right about out of here, after I climbed over the freezer that came a half a mile away, we think, I got right about right here. And I looked, and a bolt of lightning went off about the size of my wrist towards the northeast. And you could see the tornado. And it was black as Casey. And it was completely just full of just dirt and red. And the green wheat fields were just fluorescent from that powerful of lightning. So I got to the top. I put my hand on the edge of the subflooring. And my neighbor Rhonda goes, "What's it look like up there, man?" I said, Rhonda, you're getting a new car. That's not funny, Matt. Wait until you see your house. I didn't tell her that. Oops, did I? You got to have humor. If you don't laugh, you cry. You got to have lots of humor. And the funny thing about it was is you'd ride bicycles around town to go find a porta potty, and you'd always see somebody and they go, boy, your house is a mess. So's yours. I grabbed a can of spray paint and thought I'd have a little bit of humor. Who said the wind doesn't blow in Kansas? A lady was walking down the street from the Washington Post, and she walked up, and my two sisters and brother and the brother-in-laws were all there. Family dynamics after a disaster like this is a whole different book and a half, because everybody thinks they know what's right for everybody. You know, that sibling rivalry. We ended up in district court. So, this lady walks up and she goes, who wrote that? I said, I did. She goes, I'm Tamaya Wilson. I'm with the Washington Post. Can I follow your family for 4 or 5 days until you get your insurance settlement so that I can actually find out what's going on here and how ethical insurance companies are after a major disaster like this? And I said, if it proves to the world, because by this time we had heard that this was, the big one, I said, yes, you can. And my sister said, no, you cannot. And I said, if we can help somebody that's gone through something like this, let's do it. Let's do it. So we did. So my mom was on the front page of the Washington Post in the family section of the paper. Now, I need to take you back just a little way. See all the crap? And somebody had come over, Rhonda, my neighbor, had come over across the street. She goes, Arlene, are you having fun? Oh, I just can't believe how much fun all those kids are having, bringing all that crap out of the basement. I haven't seen that stuff in years. Well, Mom had dementia. We lost a 3-year-old in a pool accident, my dad to cancer, my mom to dementia, and an EF5 tornado in 14 months. Thank God I had a Dalmatian dog to talk to. So the powerful message of what pets can bring to your lives is extremely important. That's why just most recently I just finished my 3rd trip out to San Bernardino and talked with school kids that were affected by the shootings from a year and a half ago, and one to be a year ago, when the guy went into the school and said, I need to go holler at my wife. Okay, go ahead, Larry. And Larry went in there and boom, 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 and killed 2 or 3. Well, while I'm out there, they said, hey, would you go to this teacher's meeting? I said, for what? I said, well, you just go in and observe. And this lady was going, y'all, we got the anniversary coming up, and I don't want to talk about it because my nerves are shot, and I don't know what we're going to do on the anniversary date. And there's a guy here from, what's your name? Matt. He's got a couple of books that we can read and it'll kind of help take us forward a little bit. What can you tell us about your books? I said, well, I think everybody ought to take it home and just read it and find out the pay it forward aspect, that you're not alone in these things. Okay, what about the anniversary dates? What's your advice? They suck. And that's exactly what I said. I said, that's all I have to tell you. And I said, my Irish Catholic mom said, this too shall pass, but it may take a little bit of time. And about that time, this lady comes around the corner and she comes over to me and she says, are you really from Greensburg, Kansas? I said, yes, ma'am. My kids, 5th graders, just did a book report about Greensburg last week. And I said, you know what? I'm here in 2 more days going to do a project for the kindergarten and 1st graders. I said, can I make a visit to your room? And she said, you would do that? Well, why in the hell not? So I went into this 5th grade class. Oops. Anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. And these kids had been researching and had hellacious questions for me. I couldn't believe it. It was just unbelievable. Who'd ever think the president would come to your hometown? You dream about it as a kid, right? Everybody does, right? Okay. I was in the restaurant business in Waco, Texas. If you ever go to Lincoln, Nebraska, there's a place called Buzzard Billy's, Armadillo. In Waco, Texas, there's a place called Buzzard Billy's. In Des Moines, Iowa, and La Crosse, Wisconsin. I was in on the mothership, the first one back in the 90s, and I got out of it because I was in business with my best friends, and it was so tough that I was ready just to walk away from it. I had catered a function for him out at Crawford, and I don't know how in the hell I did, but I passed Secret Service clearance. And I turned around, and when he came into town, I said, I'm going to leave town because I don't want to go see him because I know the man. I mean, we know people in common. So I want to go get in line over at the FEMA store at the Haviland High School gym so I can get all my paperwork started and be done with. Because remember, I was living with my mother, taking care of her after my dad died. And so I didn't get to see him, but I heard him fly over and I saw him. And he made a couple low passes. Schmitty, sitting in the middle. He was pissed. He was trying to walk around and find a pair of glasses and hearing aids and was just walking around, and his kid kept going, Dad, you're going to fall down and break a leg, and you're going to get in, you just go over here and you just leave me alone. This went on for 20 minutes. Dad, sit down here. The president's in town. Oh, bullshit. Sit down and sit down now. Don't you tell me what to do. Schmitty sat down and was going through a box, and somebody came up and sat beside him. And he said, Old timer, how are you doing? And he said, as soon as some son of a bitch goes back to Washington, I'll be doing just fine. Then they came back and they had a photo op. Now, the president, oops, okay. So we all have to learn in life, when life shuts a door, open it again, it's a door. That's how they work. They all look the same. That was the FEMA trailer. I took this picture in a hot air balloon. Don't ever ride in a hot air balloon if you've been drinking. But anyway, who's been to the balloon festival? Come on, there's more stuff in storm chasing. No. The owl and the, I can't remember, it's a two-sided balloon. Anyway, that guy stopped and he wanted to give everybody a balloon ride on a tether rope where you go up 100 feet and bring them back down. All the kids, he just felt very compassionate. The kids needed to go up in the air and come back down. And I coordinated it with him. And I had a couple beers, it was fun. And we got down to the last one and he said, Matt, jump in. Cut the tethers. I said, what are we doing? He goes, I'm taking you up. And we went up to 1,800 feet. He had a camera, and those balloon things are just about this high. And I'm a tall boy, and I was squatting down. And I took 2 rolls of toilet paper, one to throw and one to keep in the basket. So I turned around, and we came down for a crash landing about a mile from town, and he said, you've never ridden in a balloon before? And I said, no, I have not. And this is on 9/11. And he said, I hate to tell you this, but we're going to hit extremely hard because I forgot to untie the relief valve line that actually shuts it once we get close to the ground. This is how I want you to brace yourself, and brace yourself firm and hard because we're going to get drug. And damned if he wasn't right. And somebody was going by the highway because we were 200 yards off the road and called 911. Every fire truck in Kiowa County came to help this balloon in distress right at sundown. And when the guys walked up to see what's happened, they said, oh hell, it's just Matt. Being in public administration, I know where you cut the cords and where you actually have to really butter somebody up. And so long story short, a lot of people didn't like what I was doing, and I got thrown underneath the bus a lot on a lot of stuff because, you know, it was, I moved away from the community and was gone for 12 years in the big city. So I ended up having business cards made up that said, Matt Deighton, bus chassis expert. Okay, the FEMA trailers are all identical. A couple little facade pieces, and that's it. If you go across town on the edge to a house that was not destroyed, and it happens to be the Margarita Bar on Thursday nights with beer, and you go into the FEMA park, they all look the same. Wrong one! And that happened quite a bit. Not with me. Okay, here's the funny part. Only God knows, right? My phone just ring. Hey, this is Matt, the volunteer coordinator. How can I help you? This is Becky. I'm from Ohio. We have the Presbyterian group. We have 14 volunteers, 3 mechanics, 4 electricians, 2 plumbers, and some handy guys that can do a lot for you guys. Do you have any open slots for us? I said, yes, I do. I've got an open slot for you in September, and I can put you in the volunteer village. We house up to 100 people there. You stay in these bunk dorms that they use down in Katrina. And let me look on the calendar here. I said, there will be 32 Lutherans here that week. Hello? Hello? I looked at my secretary and I said, she hung up. She goes, well, that's the 3rd time she's called. You check your religion at the door, and you go in a disaster to help your fellow man. Some of these families needed to become first-time homeowners because they were renters. And the guy that had all the rental property wasn't going to build all the homes because he didn't have a lot of insurance, so people were on their own. So we got with the USDA and some other organizations, and Sherwin-Williams said, we'll donate all the paint, and we got Star Lumber. They're going to donate the rafters at 35% discount, and we can put people in a 3-bedroom, full basement, attached garage, 1,180 square feet on the first floor for between $68,000 and $85,000. That's cheap. Now, we're going to build 10 houses at a time. Nobody can move into their house until they're all done. And you have to put sweat equity at least 10 hours a week in everybody's home. Or the volunteers that are coming, the Lutherans, because the Presbyterians really didn't show up. No, I'm just kidding. That particular group. So anyway, they turn around, and it was cool to see how this all happened. One Lutheran group out of Pennsylvania, they drove out, a van of them did, and they were all older guys. And Lutherans are left-handed Catholics, if you don't know, because they hold their beer in their left hand. And they came out 2 days early to bring the tools and all their fun stuff and etc. And they arrived and they needed something to do. And I said, well, fellas, I said, we really are not going to schedule to start until your main group gets here, if that's okay. But I said, I know a place that we can take you. And I said, it's my house, the one that I rebuilt, it was one that I salvaged. And I said, I'm trying to find somebody to put up a garage door, but I don't want to take away from somebody else that has a more direct need, because even though I was in the system and I was a volunteer coordinator, when people came to help me, I pushed them over to a family that had kids, because that's what it's about, you know. But these guys look pretty ornery. And so they go in my old garage in a 1963 Colonial, and they're installing and fixing this garage, and the guy said he had experience working on that, and it was 4:30, and I came out in the garage with a beer in my hand. Boy, they just looked at me. I said, you guys want a beer? And he goes, we signed an affidavit that said we wouldn't drink. I said, you don't start in 2 more days. Billy, go get the cooler. I am friends with those people for life. And I still get emails from them every now and then. Where are you at? What are you doing? You know, send us some more duck salt. But I made really good relationships with some of these people. So religion is a funny thing after a disaster. Does that make sense? Because this one family ended up with 19 Bibles and 7 crucifixes. And I finally would have had to take the preacher guy. I said, hey, look, these people are in their 9th week of building their home. It's all boxed in. They're going to need some work done on the inside. But I said, can you kind of cut the catechism back just a little bit? And he goes, well, that's what we're here for. And I said, dude, they've already got 14 Bibles. Oh, I never thought of that. I said, we can't overgive these guys catechism. Because I said, you're defeating the purpose of what they're wanting to do. I must have broke it. Thanks, God. No. You want to hit the next slide? Guess God's going to hang around a while. There you go. Okay, so the door shut. We open the door. There's a new city hall. Those are probably not the most neatest looking building in the world. It did win Architectural Design of the Year for small town government buildings. Solar panels, rain collection, what we call rain harvesting into a cistern system so they can pump it back out for the grass. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, you see the three good looking guys up there on the top, the one on the left? That's me. That's the Twilight Theater. It holds 400 people. It has the largest screen of any theater between Wichita and Denver, Colorado. And we had the same screen put in it from the original one built in 1917. I'm in San Bernardino, California, doing a project when Star Wars comes out, and I'm trying to find a ticket to go see Star Wars, and everything is sold out. Greensburg showed the opening night of Star Wars. The company that distributes the movies wanted to really help us break in the theaters, and I thought that was very nice. The gentleman on the far right, Chuck Goodsell, was the sales director for JBL Stereo System. So Gary Goodman, a friend of mine, we went out to, do I go to 45? I got 15 minutes? Okay. So Gary and I are on the the theater board together. And there's a convention called CinemaCon. You need to Google that. It's where all the people from around the world gather at Caesar's Palace, and they sell sound system, they sell popcorn machines, they sell theater chairs, anything that has to do with theater. 40,000 people attend over a 4-day period of time from around the world. Movie business is extremely large. Danny DeVito is walking around going, "How you doing up there?" Tim Allen's going around going, "Hey everybody, it's tool time." And so you get to mingle with some people, it's nice. They sent me out there to do a little bit of PR work and try to find a couple of things that we needed. Well, we needed some chairs, but most of all we needed a sound system. And we wanted a good sound system. So we started walking around the room, and there was some sound people over here and sound people over here. They were rather cold, and so we didn't really like what they had. So, but right over here, about where Roger is, was the JBL speaker booth. And walked up to the booth, and there was just a common guy standing there. And he said, "You'll have to come back tomorrow morning and talk to the sales manager, Chuck. He'll be here, and he'll tell you about the modification and maybe a good discount we can give you for a stereo system." Went back the next morning. I had on a name badge. Walked up, and I said, "Chuck, Matt Deighton from Greensburg." Gary goes, he goes, "What the hell are you doing here?" "I know where Greensburg is." "How do you know where Greensburg is?" He says, "I saw you on the news." I got married in the Catholic Church in Greensburg in 1968 on my naval furlough. I married Dr. Brown's daughter from Coldwater. It just tears me up what happened to you guys. What are you doing here? I need a sound system. What type of sound system do you need? How many seats? What's the square foot? Da-da-da-da-da-da. Listed it to him, and he said, "Why don't you run it up?" He said, "I'll run it up the ladder tonight." He said, I got a buddy here in town too. He said, "Let's run it up the ladder." He said, "I don't see any problem." So the next day we went back, and he goes, "Hey, you got yourself a sound system." Shook his hand. Couldn't believe it. I said, "How much did we just shake for?" And he said, "About $42,000 to $45,000. So next slide, please. I had to go outside and do the victory dance with Caesar. That was my $42,000 chance to really say hi to Caesar. Oh, are we? Next slide. Is it done?
Yeah, I think so. Is that the right side?
Yeah, okay. Kiowa County Commons, the Media Center, Kansas State University, the library, the museum. You walk in the Commons, and that's, who's been in there? Okay, that's the soda fountain that's in there that was in the old Rexall drugstore. The library's to the right. The left is a museum. County extension agent is inside. The media center is on the top floor. Anybody know what the media center is? It's an education facility for high-tech technology for PowerPoint presentations, live TV coverage. They teach kids videography. They teach radio. They teach ads. They work with a lot of kids, and all the football and basketball games are shot live and streamed. And we've got kids in the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade that are going to be very educated in high technology. Excuse me. We also have the trailer. That trailer is worth around $340,000. And those are all the sponsors that are on there. And they pull it with a big 1.5 or 2-ton truck or 1.5 tons. And what it is, you can see to the right, it has just as much capacity as what ESPN has in one of those great big trucks. And so they could actually pull it to a tornado disaster site somewhere, and that could be a reference point for some of the media people that cannot get there. Does that make sense? So the technology was all donated. When the school was destroyed, we got a check for $16.4 million. Now, Roger, this is where you got to listen. $16.4 million. The new school cost $52 million and change, and that's called a funding gap, as we were talking about last night, having a funding gap. Within 8 months, we filled it because we went out to the insurance companies, we went out to the big boys, we went out to all types of companies that wanted to participate to see renewable energy, and insurance companies really like the idea of having a safer building with lots of storm shelters, because if a tornado ever came again, they would have to pay a lot of casualties. And so I see people becoming more sponsors of this event through the insurance groups or whoever, because what you guys do is a blessing to the world and the community of where you're at, because you're saving lives. And the insurance companies want you out there because now they can put the car in the garage and they don't have to worry about the hail damage. Does that make sense? Unless you're needing financial help and you let it go out and get hailed on. The president came back on the 1-year anniversary to give the high school commencement address. And they flew him into Greensburg International Airport. He's a very funny man. I was out on the west side of town at the volunteer village, and the 2 great big choppers came in. They came 3 at a time. The Blackhawks came in. He was following them right in the middle. Blackhawks went down, and he tapped them on the shoulder and said, "Make a low pass. Make 2 low passes." And that freaking helicopter came over extremely low, and I jumped out of my vehicle, and I had my Dalmatian with me, and I waved at him, and he waved back. The first time he was in Greensburg, there were only 7 cars in his procession. The last time he was there was 26. If you're a dignitary from another foreign country and you're visiting the president, you automatically get your own van and you follow him. Does that make sense? So they bring the whole, and then the machine guns and the guy getting out with all the rifles. And step on the curb, do not get in the street, you will be shot. Yes, sir. Standing there with my Dalmatian dog, they bring him around the corner at Main Street at about 45 miles an hour. Those guys, Secret Service, they know how to drive. He comes squealing around the corner, he's sitting in the middle, bouncing around, looks over and gives me a big thumbs up. I still didn't go down and see the school, but it was very impressive. This little girl, her grandpa didn't believe that she would actually be up there with the president. And he said, "When you get up there, I want you to point me out to him." And she did. I thought that was pretty cool. This is what we look like now as far as downtown. The antique shop building is the only building that actually survived the tornado. The rest of these fronts are all individual storefronts with one common roof. It's one building, but we put different facades on so it would look like we could actually have a little bit more small town environment. Now, with that said, we did that with private funding, local funding, so that we could keep the rent down to about $400 a month because it's going to be hard for companies to, or the flower shop. You know, rent in Greensburg in an old bungalow home was about $350 to $425 a month. Then it went to $850 and $1,000. New cost construction. The people in Pratt, you could buy a house for 50 to 60 grand. It went up to 90 to 110,000, supply and demand. So there's supply and demand. It's called capitalism. Some people don't think it's right, but that's how the ball bounces in disaster recovery response, or disaster recovery. I got a phone call one day. I was at a meeting, disaster recovery meeting. This guy got up from New York City and he said, hi, I'm Jeff Parness from New York City. I take volunteers from 9/11 that actually were at 9/11 and people from around the country, and we go around the country and we help small towns rebuild certain items. I told my buddy, I said, I gotta go. So I walked out, had to stop and holler at somebody, and went outside, and about that time this kid came up behind me and says, hey, Matt, are you Matt? And I said, yes. He goes, I wanna give you my card. I said, okay. He goes, I want you to know that I'm legit. I said, I would have no reason to believe that you are not legit. Well, you know, you go into disasters and there's a lot of fraud. And I said, I know, I deal with it every day. But I want you to know that I'm legit. So we chose them to come out and do their annual 9/11 project. And he called me about 3 or 4 days later. He called me another week. He came out as a surprise. Finally, about after the 4th month, he said, I know what I want to do. I want to build grandpa, the son, and his son, 3 generations, 3 homes. Find me that application. And I said, well, first of all, I'm not going to allow you to do that, because I said that would create a lot of internal jealousy with our community. Because remember, we're a one-stoplight town. I said, why don't you do something for the kids of the community? Because Mullinville and Haviland, our taxes are going up because of your tornado. Well, it didn't. I mean, as far as it was time to have taxes go up anyway. I said, let's do something for everybody. I said, why don't you make a 4-H barn, build a 4-H barn for all the kids? I said, you know what 4-H is, don't you? And this is a guy Upper West Side of Manhattan. He goes, you mean like pigs and rabbits? I said, and steers and horses. And he goes, you mean like an old-fashioned barn raising? And I said, cowboy, you call it what you want. I've got to go. And I hung up. 4 months later, they showed up with 400 volunteers from around the country, and they built the barn. New York Says Thank You, the movie, is on YouTube. New York Says Thank You, the movie, is on YouTube. I highly suggest you watch it. The Big Well, of course, raise your hands. Great place, pretty cool. Did you see the little ceramic where Jesus was the only one sitting there? That kind of gets you a little bit. Makes you think just a little bit. I can't say enough about my dog. She took me to the red carpet. This guy's first fire call was on 9/11. He had been on the force for 2 weeks, but that was the first call. He was covering a shift for a buddy of his, because buddy went camping. And the documentary movie, New York Says Thank You, the movie, it was about Greensburg and 4 other areas around the United States. And when the guy went camping, he came in and he crossed Brian in the middle of an intersection. And he said, oh my God, I thought I killed you. He said, no, I'm fine. Well, when we go on these builds on the anniversary weekend of 9/11, those 2 guys won't get 30 feet apart. That's just natural instinct that they will not get more than 30 feet apart. The brotherhood with people of 9/11 is so powerful that when one of them chooses suicide, it's extremely critical on everybody, because it has somewhat of a domino effect. And that was actually Molly on American Airlines. Lady comes, she goes, well, she can have her own seat. I said, I don't. Hell yeah, let's get a picture of that. An insurance company, this building was brown. An insurance company was using that for a portable building, and all of a sudden it sat empty for 2 months, and it came Christmas time, and some retired school teachers came along. I'm about done. The retired school teachers came along, and they said, we're old and crusty, and we can't do a lot, but you got something? I said, how would you like to paint a Santa house? Are you serious? Yeah. They painted it, then they went back to Augusta, Kansas, and brought out all the gingerbread the next week and finished it all up and put knotty pine on the inside and all that fun stuff. And about 2 weeks later, before Christmas, This truck driver shows up looking for a brown building to take back to Wichita. I said, haven't seen a brown building in quite a while, but you can drive around town and look. Well, hell, insurance companies got insurance. Okay, you're not alone. A family in Texas brought 240 wooden stars to Greensburg, Kansas. The kids painted them and stuck them where their house used to be as Christmas lights. Now there are over 85,000 of these stars around the world. The Greensburg people actually make the stars and put a base on them. They ship them to schools in Arkansas. We're going to Rockport, Texas this week, San Bernardino, Orlando, the Pulse nightclub. Community, believe in our town because it's worth fixing. This was in Canada. Look at that little Superman, because the Canadians had that big wildfire, you know. And we went up, 15,000 people attended our event, but we only had 300 stars with us. But the kids that painted them were just so thrilled that they knew that they were going to go put their star up somewhere in the neighborhood. The girl on the left, her coworker covered her up, and he died in San Bernardino. The kid on the right is Josh Garcia. He was off duty the night of the shooting in Orlando, but he found out what was going on, and he drove up, got out of the car, and ran into rat-a-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat, and got on the floor and led the police around the corner to shoot the guy. We have them all over the world, as you can see. I got to go to England, so never say never. That's the Lord Mayor of Manchester, England, population 250. He wanted me to come and give him a book and also to understand, because he had a big fascination. Tell me about the tornado. And I saw her while she was there. The SWAT team in San Bernardino. The people in Groesbeck, Texas are the ones that are behind all this. That Bobby saw a lot of bad things at the Glenfell Tower. Remember the Glenfell Tower? 80-some people. There's way over 80 because they had no documentation because it was Section 8 housing. That man saw a lot that night, or that day, when people were jumping out of the building, and so he healed a little bit from that. When you're out storm chasing, you'll find many funny things, such as a good-looking tornado. Shut the door down, please. These guys were hauling hay down to Ashland from Minnesota because of the wildfires from March 6th, and that's my favorite liquor store down in Oklahoma. Ugly Fixer Liquor. This family lost everything. If you apply yourself and work hard and go forward and say, I can do this, that's what you get with work. That's what you get with positive mental attitude. Those are the 3 books. I'm very proud of one thing. I have the tallest tree in Greensburg, Kansas. When you're down by the well, drop in. Be safe, everybody, in 2018. And I hope you see some really good tornadoes in non-populated area. So, now, questions. What did the tornado sound like? It sounded like a train with a bunch of elephants in heat. Yes, sir. Question? If you don't like what we did in Greensburg, go get your own damn tornado and see how much fun it is. As you can tell, there's very many subject matters that we can go into, policy and procedure and all that fun stuff. I hope eventually that if Chasercon ever actually decides to relocate sometime, I'm just saying this out loud, we have 2 really nice hotels. We got 400 seat capacity. If it's at spring break time, we can use the high school, which is probably the most energy efficient high school in the world. And if we have to bus you guys back and forth to Pratt for hotel rooms, I'm sure that the school, everybody, you can ride a school bus, can't you? I'm sure that my community would jump out of their skin and not have to worry about a $5,000 a day room rental. And now that ribeye is going to be made or raised right there in Greensburg, and they're going to custom grill it just how you want. Thank you, everybody. Yes, sir.
You mentioned a little bit about the energy efficiency of the high school. Can you talk a little bit about that whole aspect of it, the Greensburg Greentown thing?
I got a phone call one day from University of A&M. Matt, we'd like to have you come down and talk to our environmental company or student, and we would like to have you talk. But now I got to tell you right now, you can't say the word green because that makes it sound like we're ignorant down here. I went, really? So green is the old word. It's smart built and energy efficient. But what we did is we got with NREL, Department of Energy, and we got with a lot of really good companies that wanted to do the geothermal loops. The high school, I think, has 98 geothermal wells. The courthouse has 64. The solar panels are okay. But here's the problem. When I go to Tuscaloosa, if I go to Rockport, or if I go to wherever else, I always tell people, come to Greensburg. Get a delegation together. Come here. Learn from our mistakes first, then see what we did right. Because there's no reason to reinvent the wheel, but learn from our mistakes, because that's what's most important. But the houses that are built have energy efficient windows enough that their utility bills aren't even $100 a month. And that's gas, electric, and so it's just really amazing how, when you build a house, use 2x6 walls, double insulate them, and when you put your windows in, wrap 2 or 3 layers before you stick them in. So some of the guys down at the coffee shop, what was your utility bill? Highest one has to buy coffee. So they have fun with it. There was a family that said, a husband and wife, and they said, we're going to bed tonight. When we wake up in the morning, we're not going to say the T word. They made it 15 minutes. It's still in everybody's mind on a daily basis. When people still get up to walk down the hallway to get their Christmas decorations and go, oh shit, I forgot. And sometimes I'm just as bad, because if I'm looking for something, I knew it was in the garage in the toolbox, I'll catch myself driving down to the... So it's just systematic with a lot of things that you were, cultured to do, but then you realize that, no, it's not there. So, any other questions? Yes, sir.
Did they pass any kind of code that all new construction, whether it be a school or house, or all new buildings had to have some sort of basement or tornado shelter?
First time in the history of a small town community. And see, you got to realize that Katrina had a lot of mistakes. And so we kind of became the prodigal child. And there was a lot of things that they implemented, and a bunch of us were gathered outside City Hall, and we said, who's going to go in and ask what the permits are going to be? So I said, I'll go. How much is the house permit? $1,142. Well, before it was only $7. And I didn't know who the guy was. I said, how much is a business permit? And he goes, $1,450, and then the plans will be an extra $400. Well, they went up to the big city of Lawrence, Kansas, and brought some guy down that had the big manual, and he was sitting there telling everybody this. And I went outside and I told everybody, and we went to a city council meeting that night, and we got it reduced to 35 and 80. So that was just for the building permits. But the energy efficiency, we didn't force anybody, except for all the government buildings were LEED Platinum design. And DiCaprio, the incubator building on the corner, that was the Sunchip building, and we ran on a funding gap, and Leonardo threw in $400,000 to finish it out. So, and I found out a lot of companies out there really want to donate, they want to participate, but sometimes they're pretty damn scared. And I had a company come up to me one time, a delegation, and they said they couldn't get into City Hall, see, so they could always come out and find, look for the Dalmatian, you'll find Matt. So we turned around and they came out, and I said, okay, bottom line, I've heard this spiel 10 times. What do you want? What do you want to benefit out of this? Oh no, we're not wanting to get popularity out of this. We're just wanting to do something, to help the citizens of Greensburg. I said, how many people you got? He says, well, we're going to have 240 at our conference in Wichita, and we're going to have everybody come out and spend a full day and do a nice big project. And I said, okay, I have almost 3/4 of a section of CRP grass that I need you guys to walk through and pick up all the metal out of it and all the trash and put it in piles, and then we'll come back in and bag it up and get rid of it. And he said, Don't you have something more meaningful? And I said, you know, why don't you just write us a check for $20,000 and give it to the recovery process, and I'll give you guys a nice big thank you note, and we'll take the check and put it in the paper and give you guys credit for your newsletter. But a lot of times people, they want the biggest and the best for the most for their corporation, but it doesn't make sense. Does that make sense? So you got to kind of got to be careful with that. Anybody else? I thank you guys very much. I happen to have a few blank wooden stars. If anybody feels like the need that they would like to take a star home and paint it and set it somewhere around the world or to Florida, they're more than welcome to. I've got them back in the back. Thank you, Roger, for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hold my phone here.
Thank you very much, Matt. That was very inspirational. Folks, we're going to take a quick break here for about 10 minutes and then come back. We have one more speaker, Steve Hamilton, to talk about chaser ethics, something that we can all talk about. Oh, also to let you know, for those sticking around through lunch and are coming back for spotter training this afternoon, they're doing basic and advanced like they usually do, but they're also setting up a fast lunch like we had yesterday across in the lounge area. All right, we'll see you in a few minutes. Hey, folks, one other thing. For those of you who've had photos in the photo contest, you're welcome to come up and grab your photos.
Check, check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey folks, we have a few more prizes up here to give away. If you want to grab your blue tickets, we'll go ahead and do a few raffles, and then Steve will be ready to go here in just a minute. All right, if you have ticket number 883, come on up. 883. 883. Anybody have 883? No, 883. All right, we'll do another one. How about number 930? 930. 930. How about 969? Does anybody have 969? Wow, okay. How about number 810? 810. Does anybody have any numbers out there? Yeah. How about 809? 809. 901? 901. Okay. All right. Wow, we were batting 1,000, aren't we? 864. 864. This gentleman right here. Do you have a number? Yeah. 008. Hey, that's a winner. Come on up and pick a prize. We'll do this the easy way. All right. Let's see. Who wants a prize? Anybody want a prize? Oh, you had your hands in the back. Okay, come on up and pick out something. Okay. Well, Ken, come on up and pick out something. This gentleman over here, come on over and pick out something. You standing up there with your hand. Come on up here. Yep. Come on up. Jonathan, come on up. Let's see how many we have left. This will make it easier that way. Yes, yeah, that's James Menzies' lightning shot. That was really a cool shot. That's a camera bag, so yeah. You got a couple calendars left up here. Who anybody would like a calendar? Renee, come on up and pick up one. All right, who else? Come on up and pick out one. I think we got one more. Anybody else want one? Come on up, pick out it. What's that? Yeah, really. All right, I think we have one more calendar. Would anybody like it? Come on up, Dan, pick it out. And don't forget, folks, if you had your photos in the photo contest, you're welcome to grab them and take them with you now. Here are your property. All right. Last but not least, we're happy to welcome Steve Hamilton back with us. Steve used to be a DJ for a long, long time, and he's a longtime chaser and actually a friend of mine as well. And we're here, glad to have you up here talking about chaser prep ethics and safety. Steve, the floor is yours.
Thanks, sir. Thank you, Roger. What I'd like to do first off is give Roger and Karen a standing O for doing this again. Come on. You want to talk about two of the nicest people in the world. And they make a great team and great partners in general. This is the best talk you will hear between now and noon, so keep that in mind. I've already taken this weekend off next year because we're going to do this again. I don't know how you feel about it, but I've come up with some ideas to keep Chasercon going, and I hope you've been thinking about it too, because I think we can keep on going. So hopefully you guys feel that way too. Thanks to all of our presenters, especially Jedi Master Marshall last night, who was awesome and always gives a great talk. My qualifications, who the hell am I? Well, I am a meteorologist with the Storm Report Radio Network. AMS, NWA, got all my credentials there, went to meteorology school for 4 years, did all that. I work for them. I'm a correspondent for Sky News UK. Anybody from, I think we have a couple of people from the UK who are here today. I correspond with them, worked the hurricanes this year for Sky News. I did forget to ask them for any money, so I didn't get paid for that. My Mountain Town, which is a local website here in Denver, I do forecasting for them. And WRN, I work with those guys in distributing very helpful safety information. Anybody here can be a WRN ambassador, so if you want to do that, just go to the website and sign up. So that's what I do. Why do we do this? Well, there's lots of reasons, obviously. Fun, excitement, science, photography, thrills, that kind of thing. And there's what you need to prep. So the big tower goes between the front seats of your car, right? The big CRT goes on your dashboard, and the mouse goes on your lap. We all know how that works. This is really all you need these days. I mean, hasn't it gotten to the point where technology we've advanced so much that you can really get away with a tablet and an internet connection if you've got some experience in these things. Good radar apps and one of those stick-on GPS things on your windshield with updated software that has all the roads that lead it to a dead end, which you don't want. These are some other things in all seriousness. Basic weather, who has basic meteorological knowledge? I mean, just bare bones. I mean, most people do. If you're out there chasing, you really should have that. Experience, if you don't have any or have very little, get it from a pro. Don't get it from somebody who's just seen a storm and said, it's really cool to get in their pickup truck and go out and do this. Get it from a pro like Roger or one of the other excellent chase groups. Just go out on a tour. But most of us in the room have some experience. Different sources of information. We have the internet now, lots of YouTube channels that are great. And here we are at the beginning of another chase season, so it's a good idea to freshen up. Yeah, never hurts. Your go bag. You really should think about this and put some things in there that you just don't normally think of. Toothbrush, for example, little cash, spare phone batteries, chargers, a lip smacker. And I'm not talking about backhanding your chase partner when they don't agree with your forecast. I'm talking about the stuff you put on your lips. First aid kits, radios, we talked about that yesterday a lot, and a vehicle tool repair kit. You want to check out your vehicle. All this stuff is very important because we get excited, and we go out with bald tires and we're like, uh-oh, I'm in big trouble. I got a four-wheel drive with tires that can't get me out of 2 inches of hail. We did touch on the extra lighting yesterday, and a lot of people have different views on that. I'll tell you personally, I have 2 little amber flashers, and you will get in trouble if you are driving in certain areas where you're running with your lights on like that, and you'll get pulled over because they are looking for you. So no need to go nuts. I saw a couple of Chaser vehicles out there they are loaded for bear. And I'm not suggesting to get rid of them if you've already spent $30,000 outfitting yourself with lights, because they are really cool. But I only use mine when I'm off the road, just so that's really all you need to fix your car. If something goes wrong with your engine. Forecasting prep. I usually do this the night before, but as Jedi Master Tim mentioned last night, you probably want to keep up with this throughout the day. Pretty basic stuff here. Good data sources, there are millions of them out there. Determining your target, timing your trip, don't get caught off guard. My first chase was with Roger and his group, a tour group, in 2003, and he said, you got a little experience, why don't you be the navigator? I said, oh, all right, well that sounds pretty cool. The navigator means get in the passenger seat and shut up. And that was about it. So that's kind of what I did. And then I went on 3 more chases with Roger's group, Silver Lining, and as a guide. And that was a lot more fun. But except for the first chase, I got in the passenger seat, which is his seat, and he said, no, you're driving. So I ended up driving. Our marathon chase, I think, was 2006, Denver to St. Joe, Missouri, plus a 5-hour chase, and back to Denver, 24 hours in the saddle. That was me, and I don't recommend that. That's, then I had to go to work. So, kind of plan things out, and if you're tired, if you're fatigued, definitely hole up in a hotel somewhere. And when all else fails, head for the red spot. It's pretty basic stuff there. Chase partners. Don't go with this guy. We've all had chase partners who are nuts. They're crazy. They get on your nerves. They tell you where to go, what to do. Pick a friend you can trust and go with that. Experience level, freak out potential. If you've got somebody who hasn't done it before and they're next to you and they're going, you don't really want that. That's a bad situation. You have to take care of them and watch the sky and drive at the same time. Not a good idea. This is my goal with this little chat here. If I can help any one person in this room not get hurt this year, it's a win for me, and it's a win for everybody in this room. We've taken some casualties, and I don't like that, and I know nobody else here likes that. So we don't want that to happen anymore. Let's admit some things to ourselves. We are a very unique community. We're all a little crazy. I think we can agree on that, but in a good way. We're crazy about storms. We're passionate about weather and severe weather. No one is infallible, as we know all too well. And every chaser has a different goal. I go out for scientific reasons, which is why you don't see a lot of my pictures winning awards, because they're all awful. I don't take very good shots. But I have a different goal. I like to look at storm structure and that kind of thing. And, like Mr. Mayhew and all of our expert photographers in the room, you got a different goal. Some do it just for the thrill. Let's get into some controversial points, and these are not, this isn't going to be, I'm not coming down on anybody here. Look at this as a refresher for the coming year, if you would. Because this stuff is kind of important to keep in the front of your mind as we jump in here. Get out of the way if you're going to stop. That means not setting your tripod up on the road, not taking pictures in the middle of traffic, that kind of stuff. Storm chasing is an easy way to make a lot of money. No? Yes? Who's made money with storm chasing? I know you have. It's not an easy thing. It's really not an easy thing to do, as we covered yesterday. It's tough, and you've got to have commitment. Most of us don't do that. We do it for the thrill, and maybe we sell a few images or some footage, but that's about it. Scientific chasers should have priority over everybody else. Nah, not so much, maybe. It's who gets there first, I think, is probably more important. But if you see, Tim's group out there, or you see the Dows and things like that, probably not a good idea to get in their way. I wouldn't want to get run over by the Doppler on wheels, personally. A couple of other controversial points. Do we have a duty to report storms? No. I don't think we do, unless that's your goal. If you got a mission and I'm going to go out and report what I see, great, because we need that desperately. Those of us who are meteorologists who can't get out every time, we need to know what's going on. I'm in Denver. I need to know what's going on in Wyoming or Oklahoma, Arkansas, wherever. Ground truth is invaluable. So if that's your mission, great. If it's not your mission, you really aren't obligated to do it. If you can, awesome. But if you're just focused on that storm and that's all you feel you can handle, that's what you should do. You don't want to overload yourself. Chasers who get too close are insane. Who thinks that? Anybody think that? 1, 2, 3. They're not. Everyone has their own ability level, in my opinion. And really what it boils down to is your own judgment and your own confidence in your ability. You know what is too close. We're all professionals in this room, and we all know what's safe and what isn't. But remember that point, none of us are infallible. So take that for what it's worth. Couple of more controversial points. This is in Austin Powers, where Dr. Evil says, this is uncomfortable. This is kind of touchy stuff here. Everyone who should go with an experienced chaser first. I personally think that's a good idea. If you've never done it, or if you don't feel very confident, go with somebody who really does know what they're doing. And, kind of get your feet wet a little bit. Storm chasers are seen as a nuisance. Yeah, by some people. Not by anybody here, but police, rescue, people who are trying to get out of the way of the storm, who don't want anything to do with it. We can be seen as a nuisance, and we have to remind ourselves of that. Your goal is to get to the storm, but we don't want to be getting in the way of EMS. Should you be upset by getting in a convergence zone, chaser convergence zone? I used to be. It's like, why are there 50 cars ahead of me? Well, it's because I was late, and there really isn't much you can do about it, but be prepared for the next one. A couple of unfortunate things I want to just touch on here. What if you're first on the scene? No fire, no EMS, nobody. Are you obligated to help people? We all have different opinions on all of these things, and this is not a lecture on telling you what or what you shouldn't do. Use your judgment. If you've got the training and you're not in the way of EMS, they haven't gotten there yet, then by all means, I think you should help people. Should you even stop? I know chasers who won't. They're just like, no, you know what? I'm going to chase that tornado. It's still going. Really, I don't see anything wrong with that. But I wouldn't do it. I would probably stop. But it really is up to you. We covered this in the last talk with Matt. First aid, CPR, trauma treatment. It just never hurts to know a little bit about this stuff. I'm not saying you have to go to school to be a paramedic. It's really not your job. But if you know a little bit about basic first aid, it's probably a good idea. One of your fellow chasers may be hurt, and maybe you might be hurt. The person in the seat next to you can help you out. You just never know what's going to happen out there. I think we do have a duty to get out of the way of EMS and police, obviously. But unless you're a professional paramedic, you're talking about a judgment call here. And if you feel you can help, great. But when you're in the way, just know enough to get out of the way. Time for a little honesty here. Every storm chaser is responsible for their own safety. Does anyone disagree with this? I didn't think so. We are. We're all responsible. We're responsible for the safety of our team, and we're responsible for the safety of other people around us. People who are walking, people who are on the side of the road, taking imagery. When you're out there driving, you're driving for yourself and everybody else, because you kind of have to watch out what's going on. You run somebody over, you're the one driving. It's kind of, you kind of own that. A couple of other honesty points here that I'd like to bring up. You don't always get a second chance, and we know that all too well. So we don't have a lot of room to make mistakes. So be very careful. Overconfidence is dangerous. When we do something bad, we own it, and hopefully that won't happen to anybody this year. So again, good judgment. A successful chase ends when you're back in the hotel room, right? I mean, that's really what it boils down to. You've caught a tornado, you drove 500 miles to get there, you got another hour to get back to the hotel, you've been out for 24 hours, get some rest, take care of yourself, take care of your team, and to the point of missing another storm, I think. That's much better than driving off the road because you fell asleep. Switch out drivers if you have to, that kind of thing. Speeding through small towns. I got in trouble for this once, but it wasn't on a chase. Roger and I were driving back from back through Dimmitt, Texas, with Colorado license plates. It was midnight, and we had, you know, the little light that lights up your license plate? It was out, and the guy pulled us over for that. And he was really nice. He's like, "Oh, y'all are storm chasers? That's cool. How do I get into that?" So we kind of got lucky, but it was a great story. You're not king of blank mountain. We kind of need to keep that in mind. Not the most important person out there. We're all important. But no, I don't like to think of anybody as over anybody else, regardless of experience level. We're talking about safety here, so I don't think anyone's at the top of the heap. You cannot really do just whatever you want. Again, my opinion, you might feel differently about that. Keeping a low profile, I drive a 1999 Dodge Ram. Half the paint is off of it. It looks like a piece of garbage out there, but very few, I don't think anyone has probably noticed me on a storm chase because I'm just inconspicuous. You might want to consider that, because if you stand out, police are going to be looking for you. They look for us more now than ever, because it's like, okay, I know that guy's a storm chaser, that girl's a storm chaser. They get all this stuff on their vehicles. I'm going to follow them and see if they do something stupid. And that's basically it, because I'm looking to give somebody a ticket. Chase day, which way do we go? A lot of choices on that, you know, and we all argue about it. And as Jedi Master Tim brought up last night, you know, if he's not always right, what chance do we have? So be flexible with your forecasting. Be sure to plan early. 2007. I was still in school, but I took a week off to chase with Roger and Silver Lining, and I was a driver, and I'm like, it's 7 o'clock in the morning, you know, I'm in my hotel room with a cup of coffee, taking a test, and I go bang, 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 bang on my door. We're going in 5 minutes. I'm like, what? But, you know, there was a storm, South Dakota, blew up, you know, early in the morning. It's like, we're going, and so threw on my clothes, no shower, you know, we've all been through that. And we managed to get into a field that the storm had just crossed over the highway and found hailstones about this big. So, you know, you have to kind of be prepared at all times to be ready to go. But if you're planned out and you know what could happen, that's always a good idea. That was my first lesson in, you know, getting caught without being aware of the situation. Familiarizing yourself with the terrain so you don't end up on a dirt road with no exits. I've done that. Not a lot of fun. Can be a little scary. And understand what types of storms you're going to be facing on any particular day. It's like, okay, it's going to be all lined out, or it's going to be, you know, supercell city, isolated storms, that kind of thing. I think it helps with your chase tactics. Like, how am I going to, you know, attack this system? Where am I coming in from? This develops through the day, but it does help to familiarize yourself with that. Who would consider themselves a good forecaster of 2, 3, 4, 5? That's a start, okay? So it does help to do that, rather relying on SPC because they're not always right. Who has ever chased a PDS tornado box? This guy here, he's like, oh God, no. I've never found anything in a PDS warning area. I don't know why that doesn't work, but it's like,
disappointing situation.
yeah, it's like, don't ever go in there. Don't go in the blue box, man. It just doesn't work. And SPC, I mean, I'm not questioning their judgment at all, but you've got to keep your eyes on the situation. And like Tim mentioned last night, it does change through the day. So being egotistical and saying, you know, this is my target, I'm staying right here at McDonald's and I'm not going anywhere, and everything's happening down here and you're out of range. So You just wasted a whole day and a bunch of gas and everything. GPS is great. I personally love it. I'm not really that good with it. Who carries paper maps with them? Good. Who knows how to read them? Good. GPS goes out, I'm lost, without a paper map. So it helps to know that I'm going to be chasing here. Take 5 minutes and look at the roads, that are in the area. Morning briefing, fresh data. Some people do it the night before and the next morning while you're wolfing down a bagel. Never hurts to jump on the laptop and do that. And then make adjustments before you leave. It's really pretty simple. There's the extent of my mathematical knowledge up there, despite the fact that I'm a meteorologist. Planning equals a savings of time and stress. Okay? You wake up in the morning, you're here, the storms are 300 miles away, and you're like, crap, I got to get there in a hurry. So what do? You speed. We've all done it. You get a ticket, or you get away with it, but generally it's not safe. So planning things out in advance. You're done with today's chase. What's going to be happening tomorrow? If you're on a 5-day chase, we do this when I go with Roger or any of the other great tour groups that are out there. Where are we going to be tomorrow? And we have driven 300 miles the night before, and you get some sleep, and then you're close to where you basically need to be. So always a good thing to know what's happening ahead of time, so you don't get caught off guard. Keep an eye on your vehicle. When you stop for gas, check the oil, check the tires. Is smoke coming out of the back of my truck? You really have to keep an eye on that, because the time you don't want that to happen is when you've got a storm bearing down on you, cannot get out of there. So check that stuff. I think I mentioned, that's my usual chase day. It happens. And I do have a door prize here. I came up with a special seasoning last night. It's called bust salt. And what you do is, if you get in a bust situation and you're really pissed off about it, eat this entire thing and you will forget about everything you did wrong with your forecast. So just pour that down your throat and you're in pretty good shape. I have another door prize. This was left in my hotel room last night. It is a Wild Zora veggie and meat bar. So, first come, first serve on that. Didn't want to forget about that. I don't know what that is, but I wouldn't recommend taking any of that stuff on a chase. It's okay when it gets here, but when it gets down here, it might not be a good idea. And we've all had that happen, most of us anyway. One of my slogans is 75% of the time I am right every time. May not be it's like 73.2%, but who's counting? We all have egos. We wouldn't do this if we didn't have a little bit of an ego. It's like, I'm right, SPC doesn't know what they're talking about, this model's off the grid, it's going to happen here. So try not to let your ego get in the way of what's really going on. It's very important to keep checking that data. When you're on the road and you better be doing visual acuity. It's like, I see clouds, I see a system moving in, I see a front, I see a supercell. You're not down here on radar scope going, where's the storm? You have to then make a decision to switch between data and this kind of data. So be ready to do that. Who has designated drivers? Okay, a couple people. Who chases alone? A lot of people chase. I chase alone quite a bit. It's a real different scenario, isn't it? You got a chase partner, they got the laptop, they're like, okay, this is happening here, we need to turn here, we need to do this and that. Chasing by yourself, you know, oh wow, look at that. 1 second with your eye off the road, you might be in trouble. So keep that in mind. And you can't put the laptop here. Maybe a good invention would be a heads-up display. You know, I think people would enjoy that, like in a fighter plane, you got radar scope on your windshield. You know, that might be a really good thing. I don't know if we have that yet, but I just gave somebody $1 million idea. The dangers of chasing solo are myriad. We have a lot of them. It is more, yeah, exactly. You don't have anybody to share the fuel and hotel and all that stuff. And I don't know of anybody here who's independently wealthy. Maybe you are. I am not. I'm a simple meteorologist, and you know, I don't have all the money in the world, so you don't want to be wasting your dough. Escape routes, we all know that story. Try to stick with your plan. If your plan is to go out and report as a spotter, who has spotter training? Excellent. Who has advanced spotter training? Yeah, same amount. But we all kind of gain, every time you go out, you see a different kind of storm, you gain some experience, right? I mean, it's like, okay, this doesn't always look like it does on the spotter training slides. So you have to have that ability to, it's like, we all get storm fever. It's like, I got to go after that, you know, and you forget everything else, and it's a bit dangerous. Chaser convergence, what do you do about that? I have an alternate target, and I've gotten in situations when I was chasing with Roger, we got caught in a big storm near somewhere Oklahoma. We had to take shelter next to a foundry. Who knows what a foundry is? It's a place where they slaughter animals. The smell was like, well, it was pretty bad. we ended up under an awning in this, you know, because there were so many chasers on the storm, we just couldn't get out of there. So we ended up pulling it. And if you've never smelled what goes on in one of those places, I don't really recommend it, especially after lunch. You might have to pull off the road and take care of some business later, because it's really disgusting. But go after a different storm. You know what? It's like, okay, we got a bunch of red dots here, but there's another storm here with like 3 or 4 people on it. And how many have been on a storm where you're the only one on it? I mean, isn't that great? You know, that's awesome. If you could be the only one on the storm, hey, that's a gold mine. But everybody's here. You might want to, even if you miss something, you're not going to miss everything. And it could save you some frustration. Who does the Facebook feeds, instant message, like, look at this, what I just caught, this is great. Not while you're driving, I think we all kind of know that. I did not steal this from Jedi Master Tim. This was done before I even knew what he was going to talk about. But if you are chasing solo, learn the tips from a professional, because you don't want to get out there and be on your own and get into trouble, which is, some people like to chase alone. I mean, I do, I don't mind it, but when I'm looking at data, I'm off the road, way off the road, or in a gas station, or something like that. This is what can happen to you if you are not paying attention to the storm you're on. This was 2008, Eastern Colorado, not too far from here. And I was on Facebook. Look at this great storm, man, everybody. How many likes am I getting? Wow, 70, 80, 90. Oh, this is cool. So I got some really good shots of this rotating supercell. Beautiful, wonderful. Then the hail started, because I wasn't looking out the freaking window, and I'm like, hey, this is awesome, and a bang, I'm like, oh, well, it must have been a cow or something, whatever, ran into my truck. Bang, bang, bang. baseballs coming out of the sky. I took shelter under the only shelter available, which was a pine tree. Not a good idea. Those hailstones are coming right through. That's my windshield. I won't even show you the rest of the truck because it was a disaster. And thank goodness for Safe Light, because they really helped me out there. How many windshields have we had replaced? More than 5? Anybody with more than 5? A lot of people? Or are you really careful about not getting into a hail core? Because I learned my lesson on that storm. It's like, yeah, that white stuff falling out of the sky, I'm not driving into that. Completing your mission, and I do look at storm chases as a mission. Okay, you got a plan, you kind of know where you're going to be, you've got your buddies with you, or maybe not, or hey, I know what everybody else doesn't know. I'm going to be here. Yeah, it doesn't always work out very well. Not driving fatigued, and this kind of ties everything else together from what we've been hearing all weekend. But I don't think we can hear it enough about driving. You've been on the road for 12 hours plus your chase, and you're kind of, if you're chasing with other people, you can always switch out drivers. But if you're by yourself, you don't have that option. So you pick a hotel, camp out for a while, or you sleep in your truck or your vehicle. Hey, it happens. Has anyone here skipped a shower on a long-term chase? You can raise your hand. I mean, I'm not going to, I have. Personal hygiene, sometimes it's not a priority. Really, that's okay, in my opinion, depending on who you're chasing with. Get as much rest as possible. Don't forget the junk food. This is really kind of important. It sounds a little silly, but, and what the doc was talking about yesterday about abusing caffeine, I think that could be the number one sign that you probably need to rest. I mean, you've got to pound 5 cappuccinos to keep going. You might want to rethink your strategy just a little bit and, pull off to the side, take a nap under a tree, something to keep yourself going. But these are very good beverages. These are not good for your health at all, but they do kind of keep you going. My favorite chase food personally is M&Ms, because you can pour them into your mouth and keep driving with your eyes on the road. You get into your burritos and tacos and stuff, and you're driving and it's spilling all over your shirt. It's just not a good look. Not a good look. When you pull up to the CNN truck, they're like, "Hey, we want to interview you about that storm," and you've got taco sauce on your shirt. Yeah, not a good look. We want to see everybody back here next year. I do, personally. I don't think anybody wants this to go away. It's far too important. I'd like to see double the number of people we have here this year. So take a minute, like Roger said yesterday, come up with a few ideas. I came up with a page of ideas yesterday on things we can do that I'm going to email to him. That's my email address. You can always reach me there. And if you hit me up there, I'll give you my Facebook and Twitter accounts. You can share anything you want because my pictures are awful. I don't care if you steal them. I don't do it for that. But I want to see everybody back here next year with all of our limbs intact and very healthy and not injured in any way. I think that should be our number one priority. Does anybody disagree with that? I mean, I don't think we're going to have anybody in the room disagree with that point. There's always another storm. We get caught up in, I got to catch this one. I haven't seen a tornado in 3 years. I got to get this one. No, you don't. There's going to be another one next year. And if we have a year like 2017, where it wasn't that great, there's always 2018. I've got a feeling it's going to be a pretty good year for us in the plains regarding storm activity. But there's always another storm. It is not worth risking your life, your partner's life, your team's life, your vehicle, any of that. We're all willing to push the limit a little bit, but think about it while we still have a little time before chase season starts. think about what your limits are. Am I going to get within 2 miles, 1 mile, 30 feet of this land spout? You know, what's going, and you know, we've kind of all been there. How close am I going to get? How dangerous is the storm? Is it going to hurt me or anybody else with me? So know your limits in advance, what you're willing to put up with. Some people like to hang back 5 miles. Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Some people like to get in close, you know. The TIV type vehicles, you know, they're equipped for that. Where you're not going to get hurt by flying tree branches. I have a Dodge Ram. I'm going to get hurt by flying tree branches, so I'm probably not going to get in there too close. But know what those priorities are in advance. Try not to exceed them. When you've got chase fever, and we've all had it, it's real tempting to, it's like, I want to drive into that thing. You know, I want to get some great footage. Well, that's a personal decision, but I don't want to have to be up here next year talking about how many people we lost this year. So I don't want to lose any one of you guys. I don't want us to lose anybody else ever. We all get into bad situations, but knowing how to get out of them, I think should be the paramount goal for this year. Who wants to continue? I want to be back here next year. Who wants to be back here next year? Does anybody not want to come back? Whether we do it here or in Roger's basement, and I'm sure he'll provide steaks for everybody, you know. I'll grill them, but you know, Roger's buying. We've got my personal opinion to keep this thing going, and that is my presentation. Any questions about tactics, safety, ethics, anything? Because we all have different opinions, and nobody is wrong, really, in my opinion. Nobody? Nothing? We're all set? Everybody's ready to go? Chase safe. Thank you. Who wants the meat and veggie bar?
All right. Oh, there we go. All right. Well, that actually concludes the formal portion of Chasercon. For those of you who are going to hang around for spotter training this afternoon, you're absolutely more than welcome to. They're going to start out with basic spotter training at 1 o'clock and then go into advanced spotter training after that. So feel free to grab lunch. Again, they got the thing set up over here. And for those of you who are coming back, we'll see you at 1 o'clock for spotter training.